clock is on, lights are ready, no disguises, no confetti. This is truth, no superstition. We don't sell stories, we bring facts, not fiction. Open ears, open mind, what you'll hear is real this time. We are out. Truth on the table, no condition. We are out. Presenting facts, not fiction. We are out. No fear, no manipulation. We are out. This is information. Facts, not fiction. No myths. No myths. No superstition. Yeah. Real voices, real information. We are facts, not fiction.
My mic was muted. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our live. This is an English podcast. We have a very special guest tonight. And also, I want to say hi to Rogelio. If Rogelio is here, can you please manifest yourself? He's not with me right now, but he is here on the stage.
Hello, everybody. You hear me? Everything's
Yes, yes.
it's a little different today, but it's because we're our inconvenience of our time and our schedules, and also the special person going to be with us, also their time and their schedule. So we had to accommodate that time and schedule for everyone.
So say hi to everybody. We're going to be
Hello.
doing this podcast in English. For everybody who speaks English, we have a very unique and special guest tonight. What do you have to say about that, Rogelio?
Oh yeah, sure. We do have a special person. That's what I was saying that they just our accommodation of time and scheduling. So we had to fit in today at this moment in time when we can't be together, but we're here on this live. Be with you for a little bit, and then I need to continue to what I'm doing.
All right.
But
Well,
go ahead, do your intro. Hello, everyone, guys. Thank you for everyone to come on this live today with us.
hi, everybody. Bueno, I'm going to continue. I'm going to go ahead and you're going to stay with us on the stage. I'm going to go ahead and put yourself on mute, and I will continue with my presentation, and then I get you back in a few minutes. Is that okay?
That's fine. Go ahead.
Okay.
A little different today.
You're not here with us, but you're here in soul and spirit.
All right, go ahead.
All right. Well, guys, thank you for joining me tonight. Welcome to our live AlmaLibre con Rogelio. And tonight we're going to talk about something that is causing a lot of controversy. And because, well, there was a conviction here in the United States. In Mexico, they are attempted to shut down the case. And the Fiscalía or the General Fiscalía General de la República Mexicana made what's known as a carpetazo, which basically means that is the closure of the investigation without taking it to trial. Es lo que es carpetazo. A lot of you guys mentioned that you wanted to know what this is about in English, and we've heard you. So what we're doing today, we're explaining this information or this case in English for the ones who don't speak Spanish, and not understanding what's going on. We have heard a lot of talks and a lot of podcasts that Sochil and Charim have participated in Spanish, but a lot of you guys and do not understand what exactly is going on, and that's what we're here to talk about. What is carpetazo means and what is all this information is about. So let me go ahead and read something real quick. So what are we doing today? We're breaking down the facts, not the fiction. And we want to tell you what really happened, what kind of document says, what document says, and what is the judge now that the judge has the power to either reopen the case or close it or let it die and close it permanently. So, like I said, we've been hearing from you guys about doing it in English. So we're going to go ahead and explain. And for that, we have a special guest. And her name, hello, Russo. And her name is Sochil. But before we get to Sochil, I will break down in English so you can truly understand what's happening and so you guys can stay informed. That's exactly why we invited Sochil and Charim to join us today to help explain what's going on in this case and what this document mean and what they have been, they have experienced firsthand. Before we introduce Sochil and Charim, I want to take a few minutes first to walk you through this document so you understand exactly what we are talking about. So I'm going to put in, I had put it in already, but somehow, okay. We're going to talk about this document first, okay? And we're going to help you explain what actually this document means. Okay, let me go ahead and turn this off real quick. It's a little bit brighter. This is the press release from the press release from Sochil and Charim, and I will explain to you guys what exactly that means in English. Let me get to the okay, this document or this press release was done in April 13 of 2026, and this is what it says in English. I'm going to go ahead and read in English. I translated it, so bear with me. I'm going to get that translation so I can read it for you, okay? Okay, this is the document that they, after the press release, and this is what it says. It's from Ciudad de Mexico or Mexico City on April 13, 2026. And it says that for the carpetazo, or it means shelved, el carpetazo, the investigation into organized crime and against La Luz del Mundo, LLDM, despite sanctions in the U.S., judge to review reopening. 2 weeks after Ernestina Godoy took office as the new head of Mexico's Attorney General Office, the Specialized Prosecutor Office for the Investigation of Trafficking of Minors, Persons, and Organizations shelved into the investigation against several leaders of the Luz del Mundo LLDM Church. On December 17, 2025, a prosecutor authorized the non-exercise of criminal action against Nason Joaquin Garcia, who had been convicted in the United States and sentenced to 16 years and 8 months in prison. For the FGR investigation began, the FBI investigation began in 2019 when they arrested Nason Joaquin in the United States. Based on a complaint filed by Sochil Martin and Charim Guzman, victims and survivors who escaped LLDM, La Luz del Mundo. They were key witnesses in the U.S. case that led to Nason Joaquin conviction after he admitted guilt in the rape of 3 minors in the United States. Nason was prosecuted for maintaining a group of handmaidens, girls, and adolescents who were coerced into being sexually abused by the apostle. The minors were forced into sexual relationships with Nason and were indoctrined with teachings such as how a king has multiple lovers, and claims that as the apostle of God, he could never be judged for this action, according to testimony from an FBI agent during preliminary hearings. The complaint filed in Mexico, several politicians, in the complaint filed in Mexico, several politicians and religious leaders are accused of building a network involving money laundering, human trafficking, sexual exploitation, and child pornography, which continues to operate with impunity in Mexico. This network is still under investigation in New York for organized crime. And it continues saying, among these accused, who the FGR is allegedly attempting to protect, are Nason Joaquin himself, Israel Zamora, former senator from PBAEM Morena, his father, Rogelio Zamora Barradas, and Nicolás Menchaca, both bishops and alleged operators in the trafficking network. Also named are Emmanuel Reyes Carmona, a sitting Morena senator and political operators for the church, and Hamlet Garcia Almaguer, a former Morena congressman who sought to become head of the FGR and who allegedly helped the criminal organization gain positions within Congress, the judiciary and the executive branch. It also says on the one paragraph before the last one. In addition to the conviction of La Luz del Mundo's top leaders in the United States, 6 bank accounts containing 356 million pesos belonging to the church were frozen by Mexico's Financial Intelligence Unit, the UIF, in 2020. Furthermore, there are allegations that the church may have colluded with Mexican drug cartels designated as a terrorist organizations, the FTOs, by the U.S. Congress, such as the Jalisco New Generation Cartel in 2025. 38 members, in 2025, 38 members of the Yacer Group, or Yacer Group, in security, a security unit for the Luz del Mundo leadership, were arrested in Vista Hermosa, Michoacán, an area under CJNG influence, where they were reportedly receiving pre-military training. And the last paragraph says, despite the evidence presented to the FGR, including testimonies from multiple victims of sexual abuse, the prosecutor's office is attempting to close the case, maintain impunity for LLDM leaders, and allow ongoing human trafficking, many victims being minors, and money laundering in Mexico. For these reasons, victims and complainants Sochil Martin and Sharim Guzman challenged the decision to shelve the case. The matter will be reviewed at a hearing on April 16, 2026, which already happened, and we'll tell you a little bit about what happened that day. Before the federal control judge at the Federal Criminal Justice Center in the Puente Grande Penitentiary Complex in Jalisco. Judge Juan Jose Rodriguez Velarde is now up to this federal judge to determine whether the case will avoid impunity. So, guys, this is the document of the press release that it was presented by Sochil Martin and Sharim Guzman on April 13, 2026. Okay, so I explained the document exactly what it says. And now I'm going to say that this document is a press release that outlines the position of Sochil Martin and Sharim Guzman regarding a decision made by Mexico federal prosecutors. According to the document, the Fiscalia General de la República Mexicana decided not to pursue criminal charges in an investigation that began in 2019. This case involved serious allegations, including abuse, human trafficking, and financial crimes, which were reported by victims who later played a role in legal proceedings in the United States. The press release highlights that despite a conviction in the United States, authorities in Mexico chooses not to move forward with this case. It also raises concerns about possible networks involving individuals in positions of influence, including religious leaderships and political figures, although these are presented as allegations within these documents. The documents further explain that the victims have challenged this decision, and that the judge is expected to review whether the case should remain closed or be reopened. So ultimately, this press release reflects their perspective on the case, their concerns, which is Sochil and Charim, about the handling of the investigation and their ongoing efforts to see further legal reviews. So within the content in mind, we now turn to Sochil Martin. We have her here in the stage with us. We turn to Sochil Martin. Are you here, Sochil? Can you hear me?
Hi,
Hi,
Alma.
Sochil.
Hello,
How are you?
everybody. To all your audience, thank you so much for having me. I'm sorry that I'm in a sweater and my hair's up in a bun. And
No problem. I know you've had a very, very
please.
busy week, days. Oh my God, girl, I don't know how you do it. It's so overtiring, I believe. But finally, I have you here with me. I have the pleasure of knowing you and being able to interview you, because this is something very interesting. And I want to let you know that I have audience who speak only English, and they kind of understand Spanish. You know how here in United States, it's mostly English speaking, and the Spanish the Spanish audience understands everything really well, or sometimes they don't, but mostly do. But in English, it's more difficult to understand the explicaciones from the church, or anything that's going on in Mexico, or even here in the United States. They don't understand. That's why we opened this channel, to explain to them in English what is actually going on. And this is a case in Mexico that we got a few requests to explain to them what is actually going on. They've seen you on different news stations and different places, or on different programs, and they are wondering what is going on, what is happening. So we're going to start talking a little bit about, if you can give me a little bit about what this document or this press release is about, that'll be awesome.
Of course. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me, and for everybody who's here. And if you weren't from the light of the world and you're here and you're interested in the case, thank you so much for caring. And if you're a survivor of La Luz del Mundo and you're here, well, we're surviving. Every day is just surviving. And whatever it is that happened in Mexico, with so many American citizens, is essentially why Nason Joaquin and many of his family members, and a lot of his members of La Luz del Mundo who are not his family members are either in prison or they're fugitives of the law, because they committed crimes against American citizens on both American soil and international soil. But in any case, essentially, there is an ongoing federal criminal investigation of conspiracy for human trafficking, child exploitation, financial fraud with the IRS, child pornography crimes, cyber crimes, you name it. So what the document essentially says is that while in a different country, in a different country, there is a government who is taking action in not only investigating and taking the crimes that weren't taken into accountability with the State Department of Justice in California, and they moved it into a federal case, and where the leader is now in a federal prison in the state of New York. My frustration with the Mexican government is that since 2019, myself and my husband, and then later other survivors and victims of both sexual assault, some minors, family members, some not only of Nason, but some of the ministers or bishops that are along his side. And these are all people who still live in Mexico, and they don't have any security, they don't have any safety, they're not getting any mental health therapy. They have been very patient. We have all been very patient, understanding that the federal DEA has a lot of work, that they have a lot of cases. So for several years, with the first DA who had the case, I had a very good relationship with her. She was very open. She was never, she never made me feel uncomfortable. She never made me feel like she was maybe working double-sided, or no, she was very transparent. If there was, she would even let us know, hey, people from LDM have come. They have people working in the DA's office. Hey, they have people that are coming in trying to get reports, trying to get in and get more information. So she was very transparent, and I always felt very comfortable with her. There was an open line of communication with her. And so for about a year, going back and forth with the United States case. So there was a time where I sort of just focused on what was happening here because of, I'm also just human. So I kind of had to sort of lay low and leave the case and what was going on in Mexico. And the survivors were all sort of just kind of doing their thing, sort of living life. Some were relocating. Some of the younger survivors were graduating. Some of them were going off to college. Some of them were, in any case. So a year goes by and I know nothing on what's going on with the case. And I casually reach out to the DA, whom I had her phone number. And I asked her, like, hey, how's it going? It's been a while. Just wanted to know if there are any follow-ups. And on top of that, there are other survivors who want to report, and there's new information that we have now that has either come to us, or there are survivors themselves, all in Mexico, on Mexican soil, who want to give information to me. I've told them not to me. I've told them to give it to the proper authorities, and when can we make this happen? And so the first DA is like, her name was Fabiola. She's no longer the DA, but she's like, I don't understand how they haven't told you that I'm no longer working there. They should have let you know that there was a new DA on the case. I'm so sorry. This is very awkward. But no, you should definitely reach out to them and ask them if you're right.
She didn't know nothing at the moment when we reached her. Wow.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, she was
to go and investigate to the proper people at this time when the new DA, I guess.
Right. And she said, contact them and let them know exactly what you just told me, because since that's not my job anymore, I can't receive any information now. I can't go into the case anymore. Like that's what the DA is for. And so anyway, I was like, holy crap. Like, well, I don't even know what her name is. Like, I don't know anything about her. With the first DA, it was really difficult because keep in mind, this is a mafia. So they're infiltrated everywhere. And we have had survivors who have spoken to us about how they used to work or they are witness to, how several of the LDM members who are in those spaces have been working with the organization itself on Nason's hitmen, on the people even working in Communication Center Berea, and how that was their that was their unit, that was their official like unit where they would meet and have their like bot farms. That's how they would go on, like, let's say Sulema, right? Like you have your space. Let's say if the guy's name, he has a YouTube channel or has like, let's say myself, right? They would have different people organized on one single person in a unit per person to harass and to try to hack and try to get their information. So people who have gone to the DA, the original DA, and they came directly from LDM and their team to infiltrate, to give a false accusation for random things, information that was very vague, so that they can get information on what the DA looked like her physical appearance, what her hair looked like, her eye color, how tall she was. So all of these things that essentially prove that this is a criminal group, because they work as a team in a very organized manner to commit crimes against people who are either speaking up or know information about how they are operating. And obviously this is a business. So if the leader goes down and the leadership goes down, then the churches go down and the membership goes down. If the membership goes down, then the money goes down and the money goes away. And then that means there's no business for these guys, right?
Exactly.
So, yeah, I mean, for financial fraud as well, the IRS in Mexico, which is UIF, for those of you who didn't understand, because that's how I was in the beginning. I was like, what does that mean? Right. It's Unidad de Inteligencia Financiera, which it's technically like the IRS. They freeze their accounts. And again, you fue, amor?
2020.
Yeah, so 2020, that's right. In 2020, the Mexican IRS, due to the not only the investigation that the DA was doing on the overall like LDM or criminal, institution, but also directly from Nason Joaquin and people who were connected to his businesses. So LDM, they found that was actually broken up into different businesses. Who are the owners of these businesses? It's the hierarchy, it's the bishops, it's the ministers, it's his family members. They're owners of their hospitals, of their universities, of their in any case.
I remember a while back where one of the YouTube channel persons were like breaking everything down. The different organizations were like, really? I thought it was just like one, La Luz del Mundo, and that's it. Even here in the United States, there are also different organizations and different businesses that belong to the church. That's amazing to know, and other people don't know that. That's amazing.
Right. And interestingly enough, it all sort of goes back to the root of Mexico, because one of the people who I obviously have spoken up against is either my mother, Nason's sister, aside from Nason, of course, and Nasalia, who are my personal abusers, but also Nason's mother, who had, going back to what you just said, is her nonprofit. So these women, what they have, the wives of the apostles, and this is all, everything I'm speaking about has all been reported. And not only through me, it's been through other survivors, other Mexican citizens who have reported either something similar to mine or almost exactly the same, or they were witnesses to it. So either witnesses to what was happening to me or witnesses to what was happening to another minor, or how they were moving the money around. And so in any case, so everything I'm saying is reported. And here is his mother, who operated with a nonprofit, who had different women in different parts of the world, wherever La Luz del Mundo was, who she confided in. And these women including her daughters, were grooming and they were not only recruiting young girls and women, but they were grooming them to be abused and to abuse, because they believed, and I want to believe that this is how my mom saw it. It was a blessing, and it was very normal. It was very normal, especially in different churches, depending on what the membership was and how fancy the churches and the houses were and the properties were. So if that was the case, that's where the apostle would have his vacations, right? So he was very often in California. So his wife had a lot of recruiters here, a lot of women who would traffic and groom little girls, many of them in my group, some in older groups, some in younger groups.
Whose wife? Nason's wife or Samuel's wife?
Samuel. Yeah, Samuel. Right. Well, when Nason's wife took a position of the apostle's wife, I was going into my late 20s. And so I mean, she was my pastor's wife. So she was my pastor when Nason was a jurisdictional pastor here in California, and he had California, he had all of Baja, he had I believe he had Hawaii, and he had I believe all of Baja California, all the way to like ¿en qué otras partes tenían Nason en Baja? All of it was literally Jurisdicción Norte. So all of the northern jurisdiction belonged to the pastor Nason, which he was not the apostle yet. So all of these financial crimes.
Let me make a little interruption here. I remember one time, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember one time that you mentioned that when all the ofrendas or offerings were coming to Nason, and he was still a pastor, he will get very excited. And he will say, imagine if this is just the Jurisdicción Norte, can you imagine the whole world? He had, I mean, he was ambitious to what I understand.
He always wanted more. He always wanted more. He always wanted more.
That stayed in my mind. I'm like, wow, he was just seeing, and because the church is very, very giving.
Yes.
The church, I mean, I remember we gave a lot. I mean, we gave him, not only us, I mean, it was amazing. I mean, I remember those times. But can you imagine, I mean, all California or the North and all that everything they gave, and he just imagined the other three jurisdictions, and imagine Mexico, imagine Salvador, and wow, this, and he knew what he wanted. Basically.
Oh, definitely. And so, and it's like Nason, but it's like going back to his wife. It's like, no, she, just so those of you who don't know, she was head of commission and finances. So because she was head of, and not only in California and all of the northern jurisdiction, we're talking about the entire United States. So that is how close, and she studied for that. Like that's her profession. She went to school for that. That's what she knows. And so financially, she's very intelligent. She's a very intelligent woman. And it seems like the entire family has their in on what their role is. And that was hers. So this is all reported not only from myself, but from other survivors. And Nason's role in all of this and because my report to it, and this is hundreds and hundreds of pages. It's unlike, let's say, here in California, where they had me, whether in the beginning it was through emails, and then it was through messages, and then it was through WhatsApp, and then, you know what I mean? So it was different forms. And then when finally it was the moment where I finally get to sit down and give my report with the Department of California, and they first opened the case, it was like, I don't know, it was much less time than here. Like I'm talking about a couple of hours. And it was because really in the beginning they were like, there's a cult and there's this leader. So it was a lot, right? But in Mexico, when I gave or like, let's say with other agencies, like you mentioned before. There are other agencies that had this case. It was the FBI, and you had now the Department of Homeland Security, the IRS. Now in Mexico, there were about, I want to say, about from 10 to 15 agents the day that I reported.
Wow.
And it was me and my husband, and they had us in different rooms. And I'm saying there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pages, and this will come up later when we speak of what happened yesterday. Yes, yesterday. And so within all of the report of, they wanted to know from like my birth, how do you get to know of the light of the world? How do you come into this? If you were a kid, like where were your parents? And I had to talk about from when I was brought into LDM, which I was born into it, all the way to when I finally leave and have to escape. I finally leave because I was across the street from the church, and when they were even like harassing us, they were monitoring us. We have people who have reported that they literally had our locations on. This was all going back to them. So in any case, this is all reported from my infancy to my teenage years to my adult life. So they have all of this information, and there were a lot of names that came up, names of people who are both Mexican, people who are American, and who are either bringing in money or just like they had me do when I was still a minor. Gold. They had me take gold when I was still a minor. And so these are just, and I know that you know what I mean. And I know because of, I know that you and your husband, you're very giving with your time, and when you were in LDM, and I know of the projects that you guys were involved in. And so let's say, in all of these plethora of, of projects that Nason had, he just had so many. He just wanted to eat up the world. There was it was a lot of money. It was a lot of money. So all we wanted to do is please his dad. We wanted to please his dad. We wanted to go to heaven. We didn't want to go to hell. So if we needed to buy this, or we needed to take that, we've been taught not to ask questions or to even think that there could maybe be something wrong with that. So it's so normal for us to do these things and not ask questions. So even that, there were a lot of things at the DA in Mexico. They were very like, this is very odd. These are very things. So it's all under coercion. So anyway, I give my whole statement, and they decide themselves. The federal Department of Justice of Mexico, they decide to say, you know what, this goes under what would be organized crime and trafficking of organs. And so you can't say that this is where it goes, and then you say, oh, you know what?
Never mind.
There's no crime here. So that's why we're closing it. Peace out. Literally, it starts as, oh, good morning, or like good afternoon. Like,
Right.
like here you go. Peace out. Your pain and your history of this, it's like it never happened. I don't care. Go cry to somebody else. That's how I felt it. And when I read it, I told my husband a little bit before you, and I haven't, said this before. I think I said it and I shared it with Libni, but I was having a bad day.
Let me put it on for you so they can, so the audience can know. No, hold on, not that one. This one. Hold on. This one right here. This is, I don't know if you can see it on the screen, but this is what you received.
Yes.
How did you receive the document? By email? By letter? Yeah. Okay, we were saying that you were told by the former DA, right? That she was no longer in the puesto or in the,
right.
Okay. So
right.
then you finish talking to her. Then what do? Did you start looking at who's the new one?
Oh,
how do I get information?
So this is what happens. So what happens is that we have to travel to Mexico City because LDM had judges who were running for federal office, and my husband managed through a network find the support of lawyers who would help guide us, whether it was through communications and sort of how can we report this the right way, how can we, so in any case, that's the whole reason why we went to Mexico City. And we thought that still the DA would like reach out and be like, hey, just so you know, like this, I'm your new attorney in defense on what's going to be happening with the case. And no, like that day never happened. So we swing by the DA's office and we ask the front desk. We have to go through, there's this huge protocol that you have to go through for safety and all of that. So we do all of that, and we asked to speak to the attorney who was head of the LDM case. And we don't even know her name. So we can't even say, oh, it's this person, with the DA before that, I could just, text her or email her, and she would answer immediately, and she would come right down. And sometimes she'd be like, you know what? I don't want you guys to wait outside just for safety reasons. She was always taking care of us in that case. So she would be like, no, they don't need to give their name. It's all reserved, because she didn't even trust some people that were working there. In this case, it was so scary because we literally had to get there, and we felt so alone because we felt like, well, I saw my psychologist that they had been giving me, and she was so happy to see me, and she's like, what are you doing? I'm like, guess what? They changed my, the DA, and I wasn't even informed. And she was like, what? But any case, the DA comes down, we meet her for the first time. She was wearing a long skirt. I know. But well, to those of us who got out of LDM, we had to wear long skirts. And so keep in mind that my alerts are up, right? My alerts are up. Even when I go into if I'm going to go into a coffee shop or something, and I'm just like, where are the exit signs? Like, just
actually, I do the same thing. I look at the skirt, and then I look for earrings, and I look for makeup, and I look for, do we do that? Yes. I get you.
And so I see her, and I'm like, we see her, but no, I think she was wearing earrings. But yeah, she's like, yeah, this is my name. She gave us her name, and she's like, I'm gonna be, I'm gonna have.
Is that her name, last name?
Oh no, I actually can't release her name. Just
okay.
Because, yeah, just gotcha. For any kind of, we're trying to like form what we like. My war isn't against them. You know what I mean? It's like, that's what I was trying to tell these other like media outlets. Like,
we know how the organization moves. So
yeah, it's like I'm not saying no, like screw the government. We don't need like every country needs a government. Every country needs a government. Every country needs police officers. We need federal agents. We need them to investigate. We need all of that. I believe that in any case. If I offend somebody or somebody has a different belief, hey, we're not in a cult. Like, we can all believe what we want. But in my case, it's like, dude, I had a great relationship with the DA before that. It's nothing personal here. I get you guys have a lot of work to do. I'm not saying LDM is like the center of the universe. Like, you have other criminal organizations out there. I get it. But, at the end of the day, just a simple, hey, you know what? This is your new DA. Like, that's the least I think I deserve as a person who reported and who feels her life is in danger. And I know that there are other families now who have reported, and because they are anonymous, because of their fear, we and that support that we have as a community, let me tell you, we're all worried. So I had been telling her this, and what happens? They close the case. Like, and all I was asking for is like, I need a follow-up. I just need a follow-up. It's been a year. I don't know what's going on. I just want a follow-up.
Is this what you asked her when you met her? Like, when she came downstairs and she was she said the new whatever, did she mention anything about the case? Did she know what was going on? Or
no, she actually said that she had not reviewed it. So she knew that she had the case, but because, she had other blah, blah, blah. And we were so understanding. I think that we were so understanding. We shook hands. It was good to see her, like to meet her, I guess. It was kind of weird because it had been so many years where, with the other DA, and but it's still like, hey, we're here to communicate. This isn't like, you're not my enemy. I'm not saying, or I'm not going to immediately think that you're working for the bad guy, right? It's like, no, that's not what I'm here for. I'm here to see how you're going to help us as people who reported crimes that were committed against us in this country by Mexican citizens or American citizens in your country to our person. And it's not just me, many other people who have trusted you. We've trusted your agency, that you're here to protect us and that you're going to give us justice, because they continue to harm and violate other human beings, and first and foremost children. And so what I'm saying is, like, it's something very simple. I'm not here to fight with you, and I'm not here to immediately think you're like working for LDM or with LDM. I'm here to tell you, be careful, because that's how they infiltrate. And if you know somebody, call it out, because you were supposed to be the justice system. You're supposed to be a good guy. Like, you're supposed to do what's right, what's just, you're supposed to be here to stop crime, not like help crime go along the way. And that's exactly how I felt. And I felt a fucking slap in my face. I'm sorry, but I know this is a very like godly channel, but
That's
I'm
okay.
sorry for my bad language, but my French. Yes, I'm sorry for my French. But I'm not here to like, but what I don't understand, and when they just,
How did you feel? How did you left from that place? What did you feel? Did you feel like she was with you, or she just like whatever, and she just kept on going with her life? What did you feel after you talked to her? Because what did you tell her? Like, what was the conversation about when you were looking for her? Did,
I mean, I left. This is an interesting question because I haven't been asked this, but when I get there, I didn't, I wasn't fearful that she was, gonna be like weird. I was there to be like, hey, hopefully she's like, how Fabiola was, right? Like, I hope she's like that, and we can, continue to like work. Even if it takes longer, that's fine. So as long as they do the work and they continue to investigate, and knowing that when you have enough evidence and enough witnesses, which they do now, which is something that no wonder a year had gone by. No wonder that they didn't do it, because there were so many crimes that were now with witnesses and evidence, physical evidence. And it's like, that should be enough for, like, the IRS did it and then they were bought off. But in any case, it's like, you have enough. But I'm like, hey, I'm here. I'm going to try to be as patient as I can. I'm here to like work as a team. How can we do this? Make it happen. As long as you're doing things right and you're doing things the way they should be done. Right? No sneakiness, no fucking ego. I'm sorry for my French. No like weird ego stuff. Like, no. Just help us heal. Like, we just want to live in peace now. We want this to be done and know that you guys got it. Right? So no, like, she comes down, she was super amiable. She gave us like the, very like, I'm a professional, like, don't worry about it. I'm going to be a good lawyer for you sort of vibe. Um, Not off-putting at all. That's how I saw it. Even Shadim was like, hey, I don't think she's gonna be like, as other like agencies and people that we've met, that we've come into like report, and we're like, I wonder if they're gonna be, LDM buddies.
gave you like a
And
good time, basically.
because it did, like, in the offices and agency of religious affairs, when we're gonna go report all the stuff that was going with the minister who was going for federal office, which is illegal, blah blah blah. They would tell us in our face, like, oh, we went out to have coffee with Rogelio Zamora just the other day. I'm like, you're telling a victim of sex trafficking and child abuse for that these people helped him do, and you're telling me, after I'm telling you that there are still kids in there who they are forcing to sing love songs to him. They're forcing them to pray to God to bless him, a person who rapes children. And you're sitting there and telling me in my face that you've had coffee, you were just having coffee with them. So like, I don't like them, they don't like me, we're, you know, I'm a complicated person or whatever. And all we're saying is like, you have every right to modify that law, because it's for the law of religious affairs. We don't have one here in the United States, but they have one over there. So it's like, if there is a minister who is running for office, and we have told you through evidence that he is running for office, and he in fact is a minister, you should find him. No, but that's not in the law, blah, blah, but it should be reformed. Well, that's not our duty. Well, then what the fuck do you do? I'm sorry. But what do you do then? What are you doing? So there are other people that LDM is very infiltrated with. They're very buddies. But, you know, in other spaces that are more like general, like we don't even go to Jalisco. We know what that's about. But in other places, or Puebla, right? But in other spaces where like maybe we might run into somebody who is like, you know what, I don't care who they are. As long as if these are crimes, like, no, we're like the DA who had it before. So I was kind of like, hey, she gave me, you know, good vibes. I don't think that she's, you know, she had earrings, she had short hair. And so after, you know, she shakes my hand, she lets me know that she's going to be the new lawyer. And she knew about the case, but she hasn't had time to like read it over. And I'm like, okay, cool. Like, well, just so you know, this is me. This is my husband. And like, so we can be in contact. And that's how it was. That's how it ended. I, you know, I before I leave, I get my ID, and there's like this whole protocol. And she left right away. I was used to the other DA like waiting to make sure that we left and that we were okay. In one case, it was really late. Like we were reporting, and it went on really late. And so she herself took us to make sure, because they didn't have any safety for us. So all of a sudden, again, like I left there kind of feeling scared that I didn't think she didn't know the gravity of what this case was and how dangerous it is that I'm even here. You know, with there's this agency, another agency in Mexico, and it's called CEAV, Centro de Atención a Víctimas. And so any victim of human trafficking and sexual assault in each state, they have these offices, and it's a federal agency that helps survivors who have reported against crimes like these, with mental health therapy, like if you have to relocate for whatever urgency for safety. And in cases like this, you would be assigned officers for safety. But they don't give that office the attention and the monetary needs it needs. So I was like, man, we're going to be screwed every time we have to come to Mexico City again, because we're going to be alone. So I was very fearful. I'm like, I don't think the communication is going to be the same. I don't know if they're going to know that she's the DA now, and they're going to come in like roaches the way they did before. Now we know what kind of person, you know, the former DA was, and she didn't sell out. We don't know how this one's going to be, because we do know that they had a lot of people infiltrated, and the DA was just the DA. She wasn't a boss. She wasn't like, you know, there were several things that were going on in that agency that was just so corrupt. It was just, and I know it happens in every single government, and it's like, but in this case, we're talking about this particular government. And in this particular case, and La Luz del Mundo still has many of its members who are very infiltrated in the government, especially in Jalisco. And so I receive her email through.
This is what we're talking about. This one.
Right. This was before. Like, I was in communication with her before this. Mm-hmm. But it was because we were just going to meet. Like, we were going to have a Zoom, because we didn't have a chance to even really meet, have a conversation. Like, hey, I read through the case. I'm still like on the 13th page or something, you know, how have you been? Or there were several other things that I needed to talk to her about, of new survivors coming forward, and information that they had. And so I was kind of like, an emergency meeting that I couldn't get to all the way to Mexico, but like, can we have a Zoom? Let's take advantage of that. And so we have some information, like going back, we were communicating. It was kind of weird because I wasn't used to such formalities, and it was very kind of triggering because we go back and forth to, like, I've had some bad experiences with attorneys that work for the government in the past, in this particular case of La Luz del Mundo.
In
And
Mexico.
yeah, and I think that the way it was carried on was very unprofessional, and it was very unethical on her part, because she went directly from, like, okay, so you want to meet, okay, in 24 hours, or like in 10 hours. And then they would give me almost no time to even, and the first time that she wanted to have us go, because we're talking about going all the way to Mexico City, because she's now saying that now on, Zoom, it wasn't working out. Like, for some reason they made it so complicated. And so when they want to fly me out of it, I'm like, 38 people were just arrested in Michoacan because they had guns. There were 2 real guns and the rest were fake or toy guns. They still fire and they still intimidate, and you don't know if they're real guns. So they can do whatever they want with that. And on a ranch that was very, very tied to a cartel. You think I'm going to go to Mexico right now? And this had just happened. I'm like, no. You, like, use your freaking common sense. I'm not going over there and leave my daughter as an orphan. I'm like, no. Or unless you guys can provide us with officers, and not even that. I told our at SEAF, because we have a good relationship with them, and they're like, no, if you don't feel safe, you don't have to go. They can come here. And I'm like, oh wow, I would prefer for that to happen. So I asked them if they can come to Baja, and when they say that they're going to this whole thing of it not working out, and then all of a sudden, not so long after that, I get this. So
Wow.
where does it come? Like, I don't understand how they're able to have the balls and say to a judge that, or even say it publicly, whether it's through the president or now going to the boss of the boss of the boss of the who has this case. Like, that's who I'm going to. This is your administration. What the F are you doing? Like, what are you doing? The president doesn't even know what's happening with this case. She starts saying all these things, and I'm like, what are you talking about, lady? Like, do you even know what's happening? If you don't know, say, I don't know about this. She has a lot of people on her team to say,
yesterday morning or some one of these days, that she was saying that they had communicated with the victims, and you were like, no, they didn't communicate with us or the victims. They were communicating with the lawyers. I heard that message from the president of Mexico.
She tried to make it seem like, oh, I hate that she uses the I'm the woman card. Like, I have empathy, you see, because it's like, no. You don't have any empathy. You don't have empathy. And stop saying that you try to pretend like you know what's happening with the cases in Mexico and the women and the children. And, you don't know. So she's saying our lawyers. That's very different than the president herself, who should know very well that Mexico is the #1 country of cyber crimes on children. She should know that the UN just, I don't know, like 3-4 months ago just said that. And like less than a month ago, the UN just declared that Mexico is #1 in missing people. It's a pandemic. And so she's here sitting down saying all these like things that don't even make sense. I'm like, no, lady, you have not sat down. Hey, you know what? I want to know what's going on with this case. Or, hey, Ernestina, We got to talk. What's happening with organized crime and corruption in Mexico? There's this particular case. It's going viral right now. I've heard about it before. I know that there are several people of these members that are in my political party. I'm worried. I'm interested to know more. How about you sit down with the survivors and the victims and see what's going along with the case, because I want to get to the bottom of this. That's what she should be doing.
Who's Ernestina? What role plays in this?
So she's the federal attorney, like department, the you know, like Pam Bondi for us, the attorney general, the federal attorney general. So that's what she is, Ernestina Godoy. She's like chief of the Department of Justice. She's the president gave her that position to be. You're going to be like chief of all of the, you know, organized crime, you know, all like our national safety, and like anything that has to do with these cases of organized crime and human trafficking. Like, she's the chief, and she's the chief of all of the attorney generals of every state. And so in Mexico City, the attorney who has the case owes, like, that's her boss. So Ernestina Godoy is her boss. Okay. So or her boss's boss. I'm sorry. So what I'm saying, like, here is, like, ladies, get to know the case. Stop making things up. And you can't just sit there and say, oh, we're the ones who are saying now in a court to a judge that we want to be the ones to say, hey, don't close the case. We just found more than 2,000 documents that we had not seen before. And it's like, really, we received it like 2-3 days ago. So that's what just happened, like with the judge, and was it like yesterday, the day before? And that's not true. The DA's office did not do that. They're the ones who said that the case should be closed. And I'm trying to make that very clear. Why were they and now they're saying that they're the ones that want to save us. They want to save us. So you're not saving us. You want to save us, do your job. Don't only reopen it. That's not a party. It's like when they were having a party because Nathan got 16 years and he had already served like 5. Mm-hmm. Like, no, it's not party time because they reopened the case. It had been open for 7 years. It's like it's do your job. Investigate every single person that we have accused. Politicians are the first people you should be. Politicians and the ministers, the bishops, the chiefs, the heads, his family. That's where you should start. Who have you been talking to? What information do you have? Like, how is this coming along? I'm not telling you to give me specific information on your work, on your investigation. That's not for me. That's not for me. That's not what we ask. I'm not like HSI, give me information. No. They know how to do their job. That's what they went to school for. That's what they do. That's their, that's their specialty. That's not, they're not there to give us information on what's going on in their investigation. All I'm there is as a survivor and a person who's worried about my life and what I reported, and I've been reporting for 7 years now, is like, hey, how's the case moving along? Right? And I've tried to be patient. But I'm here to ask, like, how's the case going along? What's going on? I have new people who want to report new information, but you know what? I'm not going to trust you to them if you're like, I need to know what you're about. What have you been doing? And in Mexico's case, it's like, what happens now? It's like, I tell you this and you decide to close it. And you had been very, very distant and very short with me within emails since then.
So let me try to understand. So after you talk to them or to the DA in Mexico, you come back to the United States. Then she reaches out to you and she tells you, hey, we want to meet. We want to make sure that I can understand everything what's going on, blah, blah, blah. And then they want you to fly to Mexico to go meet with them over there in Mexico City. All these things are going on with the 38 members that were caught and all that stuff. And you're like, hell, no way. I am not going to go to Mexico and lose my life. you come back over here. I mean, they told you that they could come at least meet you halfway or to the border or whatever. You tell them, come over here, and then they make it so, or let's do a Zoom, and they make it so difficult. Like, no, we can do that. Their point is that they want you to fly over there and meet with them in Mexico City. But since you said no, I can't do that, blah blah.
I
Then
think it
they,
goes beyond that. I don't really
yeah,
think it's that they wanted me to go. I just think that they wanted to not have that meeting. And in the beginning, I did believe them, that they were like, yeah, let's meet. Let's do this, right? Let's see what's happening here. What's going on with La Luz del Mundo? What's like, they have a lot of power. That's not normal. It's
so
for church.
they basically days after that they send you this document, the one that we were showing earlier.
Right.
You received that email by email, right?
Right.
Okay. When you received this document, did you understand it at the beginning? What was your,
No.
like,
Girl, oh my God. I'm so happy you're asking this. So imagine your husband, I'm not going to give names, but imagine your husband imagine him reading this document. He would get me. For those of you who are listening, and I speak Spanish well because I took 4 years of Spanish, and obviously we grew up in La Luz del Mundo in East LA. So here everything was given in Spanish. Like I learned Spanish because of church, because I was raised in Silver Lake, not
like
in
my,
East LA.
like my husband?
Yeah. And so because of, and like I said, like your husband would understand, like there's a certain degree of Spanish that, however, because I lived in Mexico with my husband for so long, and because of the community that I'm in communication with more is in Spanish now. I still didn't understand this document. It was so difficult for me to read. If it had not been for my husband who understood it. He's like, huh, really? So now we need lawyers. Now we need lawyers. And I'm like, oh shit, like, okay, now we need lawyers. Let's do it. And we had already met the lawyer who was helping us in his, it's a nonprofit called Defensores. And so they defend survivors who report organized crime, specifically in politics and corruption and politics and all of that. But they took our case because they know that there are several politicians in LDM. Speaking of, the Hamlet, who you had said before, and my husband has called out several times, but there are several politicians who are very, very tied to this through their family, their fathers, their mothers, they're unconditionals. And so we meet him, he takes the case, and he introduces us to a friend of his who is a very good lawyer. He's a survivor of, they also kidnapped him and they tortured him after defending essentially, government agents. So he knows the law very well. He's very young, but he knows the law very well. And yeah, he's like, we'll take the case. And we went from there. Everything happened really, really quickly. And we had been working on it since February. And it was just going back and forth with the DA. In the beginning, they were not like our buddies. They weren't like, hey, maybe there was a misunderstanding. Maybe there are more documents that are missing we don't know about. Let's take a little longer to see if that's true. No, they just, but there's nothing here. No crimes committed on you or and any of the other people who reported. Bye.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, so I mean, we go back to feeling, I feel indignant. I feel like they laughed at me. I feel like they took advantage of the fact that I would believe that they would care. Because I would always say to people, like, no, you can talk all the shit you want on what's happening right now in Mexico. And, at least from what I know, they're not perfect, but at least in this case, it's taking a while, but it's also very, very complex and very, very difficult because they have a lot of political power. And it's harder for people to report here. Because they're living here. They can't just have a visa and go to the United States, especially with Trump in office. It's like, no, a lot of them were so scared. Even with a lot of them who reported were like terrified now they're still terrified. So when they're, oh yeah, like, yeah, they're, they're going to reopen it. We're like, we don't know that. And even if they did reopen it, no, investigate it. Do your job.
Why did they close it, first of all?
Why did you close it? And now you're saying that you didn't mean, oh my goodness, we found more than 2,000 pages. Oh, of all of this information now.
You know what? You know what? It's because you guys are making a movement. That's the only reason they're going back to investigate all that or to read all that, because now they're forced. And that's going to be one of my questions. But now, before I go to the next question, I remember when you guys sent that document or that letter to my husband, and because he is from here, and the first thing he did, he said, "Hey, Alma, can you please translate this for me? What does that mean?" And I
Yeah.
said, "Okay, let me read it." So then I started reading it. I'm like, "Okay, it means," and this is what it's. Well, the document uses the term "no ejercicio de la acción penal."
Mm-hmm.
So for people watching who may not understand that, does that mean that case is officially closed? Is that what it means? Or does it mean
Right.
that authorities in Mexico decided to charge anyone at all? Basically,
Right.
that's what no ejercicio de la acción penal, right? How,
Correct. So,
how common is something like that in cases like this, like trata de personas and other stuff?
so we had been asking, like, when were you going to make it more of like, when are you like una judicialización, because that's a word that's used often there. We're essentially asking for arrests in plain words, at least to the people who are being either sanctioned, and they're like, it's a very big difference of people who we've reported and they haven't been sanctioned by another government and they're in prison, or they have a warrant for their arrest. It's very different, and it's more complicated because it's not what you know but what you can prove. And so we have reported so many people. However, Silem Garcia, you have Asalia Rangel Garcia, whose husband's last name is Melendez, but she goes by both. And you have Rosa Sosa, a woman who sexually assaulted and abused women and children for years. And so there are these three people, at least now, who are fugitives of the federal American government, hiding out in Mexico. Do your job. At least we're asking you for no, and so it's like it gets to a point where you get so exhausted of.
It's not believable that all of a sudden they say, "Oh no, we're gonna close this case because there's nothing." Because that's I think that is what I read in one of the places, that it says that it was not sufficient. Or how was it that it said in one of the
So
documents?
in plain in to like wrap it up in a way that I understood it, because like you did to your husband, Shadim did to me, and he's like, so this is what it means. The DA is deciding that after looking through it, her and her team have decided that there are no crimes or there's no organized crime here. There is human trafficking, but there's no organized crime. And this
They
is
closed
this
their
this is more
accounts,
for
there's
sex
no money
crimes.
laundering.
Like in short terms, this is more of what they're saying. There's like, this is more of like, we don't cover these, and from what we saw, they're in this specific area. That's not what we're finding. So we're not gonna arrest anybody. We don't need to like be investigating anybody anymore. Like, you're like, have a good life, basically. So we send this again to SEAV, like we mentioned, and our offices are based out here in Baja. And so she's like, no, 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 we gotta get you. Let me give this to the lawyer, because SEAV's lawyer was different than the lawyers we have now. So the lawyer is basically saying it in different terms, and we're like, so basically they're saying that everything we reported, even everything that a whole other federal government has of evidence of these people who have crimes that say on public, this is public information, that these crimes were committed in Guadalajara, Jalisco, and in other states, but first and foremost, Guadalajara, Jalisco, in your country, and you're deciding to say there's no crime. And oh, and by the way, these people who are mirrored in this report in both countries, they're criminals, but in Mexico they're not. That's something the president is very
especially in
it's very
Nazon.
two-faced of her.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Especially in
exactly.
Nazon. He's already incarcerated in United States for things that he himself declared that he was guilty.
Correct.
Nobody put a in his head to say you have to say this. He decided to say it on his own, obviously to get a lesser sentence or less of a sentence. So it was for his convenience to declare himself guilty, obviously to get less years of sentencing.
Right.
So okay, so he is guilty in United States, but oh, never mind, in Mexico he's not. I mean, even if
Correct.
one person
That's
that carpeta or that file needs to to judge is Nazon because he's
right.
already over here convicted. Okay, let's
And
see.
in Mexico,
All the other ones are not because they haven't proved or whatever. But one is already
right.
convicted. One already says that he is guilty. So it doesn't even make sense that, like you said, they are guilty over here. Well, Nazon is guilty over here. The other
Right.
ones are still being, processed and going to be judged and other stuff,
Right.
but for trial. But in Mexico, there's like, oh no, there's nothing. Basically,
Right.
yeah.
And they don't, it's what my frustration is with them, with these new ones. Like the past one, I know that she did want to work with the DA from California. I with my eyes, I saw it. I lived it. There's not a lot of partnership that wanted to happen there, and I get it. And maybe because she didn't trust the Mexican government, and I also get that. But in any case, like, the first ones, because of their reputation, should be the Mexican government to reach out first and be like, well, at least, right? Yeah, all these people are reporting the same person for the same crimes in the United States. She's got a warrant for her arrest. Let's find this lady, arrest her, and extradite her. Come on. Hey, American government, were you looking for her? Here you go. The feds are going to be like, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
They should be trying to get these people off of the street. I don't get that. That's what their job is. And the church is obviously going to they brainwash their heads and saying, well, he was coerced to do it. He didn't want to do it. He was coerced. Nobody put a gun to him. That's what they're going to try and say, right? Like they're going to say, you have to understand that the apostle had no way out from not doing this. So right now, when you said they didn't put a gun to his head, they're going to be like, it was like putting a gun to his head. They had the bishops tell the church he didn't want to. He's innocent, but they forced him to.
For the church, that he did it to, so the church could rest.
Yeah,
the church could be
your fault always.
Yes.
It's always the member's fault, not his fault. Poor guy.
The church, I was like, no.
Take it to trial. If he had nothing, he didn't want all that information to go out and get. The church doesn't want a lot of that information to get out there. Of course they don't, because a lot of the things are going to come out to light. So many things.
If he goes,
they're going to want to take them.
And I believe, I'm sorry, but I believe that in this case, the federal case, is going to happen the same thing. They're going to plead guilty.
Oh,
they have to, because they don't want the church to find out everything. That it's the moment that he goes on trial, the moment that he faces the victims, and the moment that he faces the justice, of course they're going to come out with a lot of things, evidence, and to prove him guilty. So what's his best choice? To declare himself guilty. The same thing we did with the state case.
So
and
because Did you see how Nason's face though was during anytime he stepped into court? His eyes were not of somebody who was sorry. He didn't even, he didn't face us. He never faced us. That person has no conscience. That person doesn't care about his victims. He doesn't see us as his victims. He doesn't see the little girls as his victims, the women that he raped and tortured. He doesn't see that. He doesn't care. Neither do the bishops, neither does his family, neither does his wife, none of them. None of
I,
them.
I think I think the lawyers had more like, I'm not gonna say feelings because obviously they don't,
Oh
because
no, those there, girl,
but they were
they
more
are
like
worse.
their face was more like, yikes.
Because
They
they
had
know that it looks bad for their client, girl.
yeah,
It
because
looks bad not because they're good people.
Nason's
I don't
face
believe
was
in
like,
anything.
you know, and I could see that because they focus on the lawyers, and they were just like, wow, that was, I
Yeah.
mean, it was strong, whatever they said. It was really strong, and they were making faces like, but they
But
were
girl,
trying to make faces.
it's like, girl, like you see it, and it's like, I don't understand. Like, I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get it. How in here, like in Mexico, like I don't get how you're seeing who this person is, how these people operate, how gross it is, and how dangerous it is, and you're not running to protect the children of your country. Like you're not. That's what's so gross to me. It's so gross, and I'm like, really, really,
Wow.
and they're number one in the world for sex crimes against children. And I'm kind of like, you, this is why all impunity. It's just, it's what are you guys doing? Like, what do you do? What do you do with the money? What do you do with resources? I understand sometimes there's like maybe one agent and has like a whole bunch of cases. It's the whole system right now. It's the entire system.
Okay, so I want to help the audience understand this clearly. On one hand, in the United States, there's a conviction, right, for Nason.
Yeah.
On the other hand, in Mexico, authorities, they decide not to pursue charges. So, Sochil, how do you explain that difference? What impact has that had on the victims? And based on what you've experienced or what you have heard, and that, do you see this as a legal outcome, or are there political elements involved? Do you think it has to do with politics?
Well, to answer, I think this question with two answers, and to answer your first question, and then you're gonna have to you're gonna have to refresh the second piece of it. But to
Okay.
answer the first part, and this is not only how I see it, but from what I've spoken to the other survivors of who have reported in this case in Mexico, they feel like they did it and they exposed themselves, some in vain. Um, they're all scared. They all have a fear that LDM, they're, because they know how they operate, they'll find them and they'll hurt them or make it seem like an accident, or they know how they operate. They've been there, they've seen it, they've done it, so they're terrified. And so I think that this is something that I'm trying to really get them to understand. If you have any friendships with them because he's a senator and your boss is this and that, like, just do the right thing. If you fall into a crime that they committed, put that in the case. And if you see that there are real crimes, like, don't be gross, do the right thing. If these are people are in danger, they have children, they have families, their parents, these are children who are depending on their parents, and these are children who are now recently adults. Some are barely just starting their lives now after surviving a sexual assault from Nason himself. These are little girls who are barely they're going to college, they're barely starting their lives, just like those little girls from the California case. They were little girls. They were
Right.
young teenagers reporting. They weren't women yet. They were kids,
They were
and they're
shy.
barely yeah, and they're barely making their lives. And so to have to, for those little girls now, there's a sense of justice that they see. Maybe it's not fast, it's going slowly, but it's going. And I do believe that they know what they're doing. Well, at least the agents on this particular case, so that survivors don't feel like, oh, we're scared. Like, no, I'm not going to report. Like, no, 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 no. Everything will fall into place. And so it's just, but how do we say that to the survivors in Mexico? ¿Cómo le decimos a los de México, a los de México? After they did the right thing, after they were terrified to do it in the first place, after they got out of there so terrified to begin with, and they're barely starting to try and like just live their lives. And some of these kids, some of them with family members who are still children, and they had to relocate 1, 2, 3 times, had to leave everything, family members, everything, homes, schools, friends, well, in the cult, right? But still friends.
Yeah.
And so it's like,
I feel it's a slap in their face,
yeah.
because I mean the same thing the Jane does here in the United States felt when especially when the judge told him, I mean, lawyers have to do what lawyers have to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's like
Yep.
one of them said, like, we expose ourselves. We didn't want to come out. We didn't want to talk because we know how the organization comes after us.
The system. Yeah.
Yeah, and then we decide to come out, and then what happens? We're here now. What? Same thing in Mexico, like you're saying, they're afraid, they don't want to come out. uh Finally they decide to come, and there's a lot of families that haven't come out yet. Why? Because of the system, because of how it operates, because they, like in this case, they close the files without even investigating,
Right.
without. And the last question that I was that I mean, the last question that I asked right before that, it says, um, based on your experience, do you see this as a legal outcome, or do you feel like there's political elements involved?
Okay. I do feel that this goes much deeper than just there. It's because it's one or the other, or I don't know, maybe even both. I'm trying to get the camera
But,
to
I mean, do you think
my
they're
phone.
really, do you think they're really the people and the government? I mean, this case has been it's been going on for 7 years. I'm pretty sure the president right now, the president before, I'm pretty sure she heard about this case, about Nason Joaquin Garcia and the Luz del Mundo. Or do you really believe that they don't know anything about this case and they just ignore? Because
Well, they
I,
should
because
know it.
one of the ladies that came out, that she said that he had no longer the apostle, or how do you call it, the how do you call
Oh,
it,
like license to be a pastor or
the
something like
license
that,
to be
right?
a
Yeah,
pastor. I don't
she
know if
just
you
said that
noticed that she
today.
was like trying to avoid the question,
Yeah,
trying to, like, how do I explain this without getting in trouble?
because it's the
That's
political
it a
party.
lot. That's it a lot.
Their political party is everything. So it's not that the president Claudia Sheinbaum is like she's involved with LDM and trafficking and like all of. We're not saying that. We're not saying that every politician they've sat with is in the ring or was in the ring. It's like, no, shame on you still, all of you politicians that went to go sit down there because you saw numbers. You saw votes. That's what you saw. You didn't bother to see, hey, what's the background on this church? Like, what's their history? Who are these people before I'm going to go sit down there? They have power. They have to know and be very smart and be ethical, and they have to have good judgment and be as wise as they possibly can because they have power. And before you sit down with these people, come on, you're a lawmaker. You represent the nation. The nation is trusting you for their safety, their health. And so this person Yeah, I'm talking about the president. Um, and a lot of them, like Eunice, Sergio Mayer, like that guy, man, that guy. So this is all a political party who is protecting people who are in their same political party. Like they're all buddies. So how am I going to talk crap about my friend or like somebody I've taken a picture with because like this is the president with Israel Zamora.
Mhm.
I don't know the guy. Like I'm not from Mexico City, but I know his wife. A wife who my aunt and her mother and her aunt, and she's got a lot of aunts actually, and women in her family who are groomers. A survivor came to tell me that she had drugged and raped her along with Samuel. And another person was there in that room. I just for she's healing and it was Alondra. But I think that Alondra has paid her debt to society. And she did what Sabdi still has not done. And what many have not done.
And that says a lot about her because as a wife, I'm pretty sure she has. Well, I don't know. Maybe she has not told her husband about everything what's going on. But I mean, you guys and everybody have make sure that everybody knows what's going on or what has gone. Like right now, you're saying it. I'm pretty sure that you have mentioned this before, or other people on other podcasts have mentioned the same thing. And how come they don't stop and think like, really, Sabdi, is this going on? Like, before I go put my face out there, is it really going on? I mean, it's like I told my kids, tell me the truth before I go out there and make make a fool of myself. Tell me the truth. Did you do it? That way I can know how to defend you. But in this case,
but he knows, girl, he knows. They, especially him, he's Rogelio Zamora's son. He's his little prince. He's his junior. So that's how they marry him off. That's how Samuel did it. That's how Nason does it. I'm sure that's how Aron did it. That's how they operate. They operate with power and the power they have over the people. You do this for me and me and me and me. And if you're good, you're good. You're a good one. Like, I'll give you this. And so that's what happened with Sabdi. She was a beautiful girl. And she and Alondra had always been, those two. Sometimes it was just Alondra. And I remember they're a bit older than me. They were in a different group than I was. But I remember them always very close to the apostle. And Sabdi was sometimes a bit of a bully to me. But I'm sure that she was going through a lot. I'm sure she was going through so much because she was one of those girls that I would look up to and be like, she has the blessing to be with the apostle. And when I was at that age, when I got to be that age, that's when Nason had already gotten to like East LA as a pastor. So it was very different. So her abuse with Samuel, I'm like, it goes back from like Y2K times. And unfortunately, I think there was already that whole like grooming of who's going to marry who, how that's going to happen. Right. So I'm not here to blame her at all. It's just like, do the right thing. You're a mother. And that what I'm saying is not a lie. And you should have stuck up for Alondra when she needed you. She should have done the right thing, and she should have been there, and she should have said, you know what? I'm here because I know that what she's saying is true. And no, she doesn't want to lose the lifestyle that she has. She lives great off of the brothers. Oh, no, because it's my husband who has the job. Who gave your husband that job? They're nothing without LDM. They're nothing without the numbers, without the votes, the prestige of the number, of the power of LDM. Well, not anymore.
Now, how after all this happens, and you guys, because your purpose right now, it's for them to reopen the case. That's what you're actually fighting for. I've noticed that you've been going on to different places or different a podcast and people or influencers and all that. What do you feel you have accomplished by doing this? Do you see, how do you feel that it's being, yeah, what you have been accomplished by doing all that? What do you feel you have done so far,
Yeah.
or like the outcome so far of coming out in all these podcasts and everything? Do you feel
Was
like,
it worth it, do you mean? And
yes,
was it worth it?
yes,
Yeah, it's super triggering. Like I my voice literally shook right now. It's super triggering because it's basically now telling the world, like, help me. Like, what is happening right now? Like, okay, I'm safe, I guess, like, to a certain extent, but you think I don't fear my life every day? These are people who harass my daughter, who have gone to my daughter's school when she was a little girl, who have harassed, who have located our cell phones, who have had people sleep at our house pretending to be friends and getting information from us, to getting people who have organized to be our friends and finally get our trust so that when we go, we hang out, and then they'll get around the corner and shoot us, kill us. And these are so many things that are happening that we've reported, that others have also, from the survivors in Mexico of kidnapping as well, and others who were in that kidnapping, in those, so in any case, these are witnesses and survivors and victims of all of the organized crime of La Luz del Mundo, and they're terrified. Like, they're very sad. They're some of them are kind of like, yeah, I kind of knew it, it's, what do we expect from this government? It's very sad. It's very sad. And it's like to have no hope in the system that's supposed to protect you. And so I do think that the more that we speak up, and I get very tired. That's why I try to really take care of my energy as much as I can. But these past 3 days have been almost impossible. And I can only imagine how difficult this would be for a survivor who did not have her husband, and who did not have a support system of a community, of friends, of allies, who reach out to just say, hey, we love you, hey, we're in this together, like, hey, we're a team, let's talk about it, let's repost, let's share this, like, we're with them. And like the media spaces that are saying, hey, this is important, this is something actually very dangerous for from Mexican citizens, like, no, we're going to talk about it. And to be able to say, no, if you don't, as a producer, you're not going to want me to talk about this, well, I'm going to talk about it anyway. That's a form of sticking up for the right thing. And so I do believe that we have had those sometimes, and I'm not going to say any names because I don't kind of want it to deviate to another thing that it shouldn't be about, but to a situation where it's like, yeah, but I want to have the first note of it. And it's like, you're not here to have this isn't like a prize or anything. It's not, we're not like chasing anybody. It's like, no, just do it because it's the right thing to inform. Like, that's your job. Be a journalist, or talk about it. Get a microphone if that's really what you want to help, or post some content, like get a definition, or look up the case and have a screenshot and post it out, like, care about it. And that's why I'm so thankful to the people who care about this case, especially in the United States. Like, there are so many people who unfortunately know about the case, but they don't know much about the case. But there are so many groups just like this one. And I've run into so many survivors who have just like their own communities, and they're like yelling at the top of their lungs, and they're all like for their own, like, women who continue to search for their daughters' bodies and are like, not first that, and then we're going for the killer. Like, it's a job that they have to do for the rest of their lives, and not have to, they're gonna do, because they feel that that's the justice for their kid. And so it's like, I feel very privileged to have my husband and to have a community of friends, like I mentioned before, like you and your husband, like just the family that was taken away by LDM. Like, I would, so many times I wish I could have my mom and just talk to her about it, or not even a dad, just to have a, maybe a grandma or like an aunt I can reach out to. And that's what they took away from us, from so many of us, so many survivors of this place. They've left us without family. They're breaking families apart. It's not even like, hey, segregation is illegal. Like, they know it's illegal, but they're doing it anyway. And they make us lose families. There are people who are living with their husband or wife, and they have to be careful because they feel that either their life can be in danger, or even like it pains them because they love them so much and they're still stuck in there, and they don't want to leave them alone. They don't want to abandon them. Like, it's so hard. There are people, like parents, who are fighting for their kids because their wives are there, but they're like, well, you want to stay in there, but you have my kids. And they have to go up against these things, like horrible things, where they have to say things in court in order to, and then they have to get psychologists involved. And then the psychologists talk to the kids and they talk to the wife, and they're like, oh yeah, shit, she's in a cult. These are things that are happening to Mexican citizens. This is happening right now.
You were
Children
mentioning about your granddaughter, I mean your daughter, that couldn't see her grandma.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, my daughter's biggest, I think, pain in all of this is, one, the time it's taken away from us, and like the safety that she's constantly having to like change around her life, like certain high schools, certain things, when people start recording us or they start following us, posting nasty things. These are things that it makes her sad, it makes her scared. But there are moments where she's just, when I talk about her grandmas, this includes my aunt, who's like my mother. I didn't know my biological mother. Very few times I saw her, and once had a very, very short conversation that I can remember with her, or she more to me. But my aunt, who was like my mother, and I called her mommy my whole life. She was my mommy. And I tell her all the nice things that her grandma used to do for her. And she loves to hear about it. Like, she loves it. When I tell her, she used to go to like, all of these cute little thrift stores. And I used to come back, and she used to have all of these like blankets, and like she'd go crazy with all these things because you were like our little princess. And she has like the biggest smile, and she loves it. And my husband's aunt and mom, they also were like crazy about her. And I'm like, you were very loved. Like, that's, none of this is your fault. They're just, unfortunately, this place has them like a slave up here, and they don't know. I don't think she did what she did to me because, oh, I'm going to get my little girl and I'm going to raise her to go get abused and, raped by a man, who's old enough to be her grandpa or her dad in Nason's case. It's like, no, she didn't do that out of her bad heart. She does not have a bad heart. She did not raise her 5 nephews and niece to abuse them. She did what she could, the best that she could, I believe, in her in the human part of her, like the not LDM part of her. I don't believe that she wanted to see me suffer. I don't blame her for that. And I will never blame my mom for giving up. She was a little girl, and she never should have lived what she lived at the hands of those men and of those people. And my grandparents should have taken care of her. And I get it. My grandparents also were children who were very abused by their parents. There was a lot of abuse that happened in my family, a lot. And I think that in a normalcy that my grandfather tried to have directly with us was kind of like separate us from a lot of the people who were just, there was a lot of drama. And he was also very like, if you talked about the apostle, you can't come near me or my family, right? So we were double, like, we didn't really have family like that. And so my grandfather, I think that he tried his best to, get us all together. But there was a lot of abuse that had already happened. And by his father my grandmother's father to members of my family, like young women. I've never talked about this, Alma. Like, I'm completely forgetting that you have an audience right now. And I forget, but I'm like, this is your space. And I just wanted to say that, like, I don't believe that any of the members, including members of my family, are bad people. It's just, it was unfortunate that they, like myself, like you, like so many of us, either born in it or raised in it, or you were brought into it later, or you came into it later. It's all the same thing. Like, they used and manipulated us to abuse us, and they enslaved us. And I'm very sad for my family. I'm very sad for the families of survivors who are fighting in this, who are constantly, doing everything they can in their power to just keep this moving forward, because we wouldn't be able to do this without you guys, without all of like our friends in our community. And so I do believe that they are good people. They're just stuck in a place not only of their minds, but also of like literal fear. Literal fear, like you don't want to lose your parents, like you don't want to lose your brothers, your sisters, your family, your community. Like, I'd rather just, okay, I'm not going to believe, but I can't lose all of that. Maybe I'm not in an emotional state. Like, it's not a rush. Nobody has to be rushed. Just like, if you're going to give your money, like, you know where it's going. It's going into the lawyers who are trying to get sex offenders off the street, like out of prison. Just know that. Don't be like, I just don't want, I don't want any problems. I'm just going to give her $100. It's like, you know where that's going, right? So just, I mean, there are so many ways of just, doing the right thing and helping this, keep moving forward. If you see something, like say something like they say to the kids in kindergarten, right? Yeah, like, hey, this is weird. My wife just told me, like, let's say you live in Connecticut or something, and your wife tells you that this creepy thing happened to like this kid in the church, and you know about it. Like, no, call the cops. If you're a mom, like, and you know this is happening in your church. Oh, they spoke up about the choir director and he raped a little kid.
And
No, report it.
do you know that in United States, the moment it gets to the pastor or the religious leader, they have to. They
But
have
not
to
all
call the
states.
authorities. Not all states?
Not all states. No, not all states. Isn't that crazy? We
What?
should get it in all states. And churches are just as dangerous or more dangerous than places like schools, or like let's say a gymnasium or something, right? For like a gymnast, wherever there's a coach, right? So any contact that adults have with kids, there has to be mandate reporting. There should be mandate reporting in every single state. Like, you're 15 and you want to get married to, who are you getting married to? Oh, to a 30-year-old man. To an adult, huh? CPS should be getting involved, because it's because, let's say I'm just going by LDM, right?
Mhm.
To an older man, and you're basically, the minister's like, to shut it up, let's marry her with her abuser.
Yeah, yeah,
And
it's true.
even if they were minors,
You know,
and the minister made them get married, these are kids. You're forcing kids to be adults.
Sochil, I was 15 years old when this 23-year-old man liked me. What did the minister say? No, he should say, no, you're 50, you're 23, dude. Just focus
Stay
on
away from
somebody.
little girls.
Yeah. No, they encourage it. They give permissions. And mom said no. Mom said no. She's only
Yeah.
15. He's 23. And what the pastor said, it's okay, let it get married. Let her get married. Mom opposed, like, until, like, really he came to the house. This guy came to the house, talked to my mom, and convinced her that it was going to be okay. Things didn't work out, but literally the pastor should say, hey, she's only 15, this guy's 23, 8
Yeah,
years
he should
older.
have protected you.
This
He
guy's
should
just
have protected
30.
you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
he's your spiritual guidance. He's your pastor. He's
yeah,
there to look after his flock in his church, right? He should
no,
have seen, like, no, dude, don't even bother talking to her parents. I'm telling you, as your spiritual guidance, it is not right. Into the hands of God, she is still
wait
a
until she's
child.
18. Wait
Yeah,
until
wait till
she's
she's 18.
18 to
Wait a few
say,
years.
yeah. And you know what he said? Even if your mom says no, I can marry you. And then when you turn 18, you can marry by the law because your mom is opposing to sign. That's how it
You see,
operates.
that right there is illegal.
It
And if
is.
it's not illegal in a law, it should be illegal in a law. You cannot coerce. He was a pastor that had an immense amount of power over you. And
Mm-hmm.
there's a specific law that we're trying to push in Mexico, and we just we just put it in, but it's the abuse of power. When you have an abuse of power in certain groups like this, like let's say high control groups like La Luz del Mundo, a person like Nason has like he has the maximum power and unlimited power, access to anything. That's like that's extremely dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
Give a sex predator endless,
And he
money,
believed
like
it.
money, power.
And the
Yeah,
thing is that it went to his head. He believed it, and he
he
used
believed
it,
it.
and he did
And the
whatever.
pastors do
I
too.
mean, what
Like,
were we told? That anything he wanted,
yeah,
anything crossed his mind, any desire, we had to fulfill it.
yep. They
Blessing,
were commandments.
commandments.
Yeah, they were so his ministers, like this minister, he had massive amount of power over you. You're this kid. You're a kid. You're a little girl, and your pastor's telling you this. And there's this, oh, this. He's a man. He's a young man, but he's still a man. He
Yep.
should have said, not even like, don't even bother talking to her parents. I'm telling you, as your pastor, wait till she's not a child, and
Mm-hmm.
then if you still like her now, you'll like her then. You know. But
Yeah.
these guys are all creeps because they believe it too, because they believe that now that they're ministers, right? And the higher the place, the more they think they're like that maximum leader, like that maximum position.
And they knew it.
That's
The,
what's so gross.
the
Yeah.
pastors knew it too. That anything they said, anything they, even anything they wanted to eat,
Yeah. They're little
we
brats.
were there to fulfill because they were helpers of the apostle of God. We believed all that. I mean,
Yeah.
we're talking because we know we were there for many years. So I completely understand where you're coming from, because I side here, you side over there. Other people see it in Mexico, other people see it in Salvador. I mean, it's one the modus operandi. Is that what you call it?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
of all the church itself. So I'm so glad, Sochil, that you were one and I was one of the people, the persons who are breaking the cycle. Aren't you
Yeah.
glad your girl doesn't have to go through all that? Aren't you glad
Yeah.
you,
Or your
you
grandkids. Like,
yeah, you
yeah,
I'm
we're
gonna tell you
lucky.
a little thing right here. My daughter, well, first of all, I think I didn't go through that, and let me tell you why.
Yeah.
I was around as a teenager with survivors, with
Okay.
two or three survivors, sisters. Okay, I was around with them. I was going
Yeah.
to high school with one of them. Well, two of them, three of them actually, all three of them. I was going to high school too, and I would hang around the Casa Pastoral for a lot of time because I loved the church back then. I was 15, 14, 15. But I think I didn't go through any of that because, first of all, my mom was not part of the church. And you know
Oh, that
how that
helps.
works. Like, make
That
sure
helps a lot.
generations to be generations and generations. And that's why the apostle of God apostle of God used to ask, like, what generation are you from? Who's your
Right.
family? Because they were very careful. Who was
Yes,
going into
very.
that? Because people say, like, oh no, I didn't go through any of that. It didn't happen to me. That's not true. My kids are safe. Yeah, but there's reasons why. I was safe back then because my mom was not from church, and they knew that if they were messing around with me, my mom will come as how do you call it, fierce
Mama
animal.
bear.
And, yeah,
Yeah.
she would defend me. One. Second, my daughter, my daughter. My
Yeah.
daughter went. She went to dance for Samuel, and then she went to dance for Nason when she was a little bit, older. They even asked my permission to go to Mexico for her to go to travel to Mexico and do the dances. And
And did
luck,
she go?
thank God, they was like the regular dance, and then was like a deep, like a more indoors or dance. That was
Yeah.
like a next step they were going to. And my daughter was a little bit disappointed. She's like, "Mom, I wasn't chose to go to the private, party or whatever." And I was like, "Man, why wouldn't you, Mija? You were already there, blah blah blah." And now, thank God that
Yeah.
she didn't go, because what
I
happened in
think
the
it was because of you guys. I think it was because of you guys. Because I think he looks for broken children, or for people who have parents who they know, they measure, who they know will keep everything quiet. And Nason knew your husband well and how he worked for him. He knew about him. So they were very, very careful. And so I think that goes all the way down to your daughter. And so I do believe that that has a lot to do with it. What does it say? Having trouble connecting. This is often caused by, oh, what's going on? I don't even know if, are we still going? I think we
I
are.
see.
Or
I
no.
see you. Can you hear me though?
Can you hear me? Let me
Hmm.
see.
I hear you.
Is it, if I turn off the camera, does the connection get better? Is it on my end, or?
I'm not getting
Let
any.
me refresh.
I still hear you. I'm waiting for her to come back on. He's trying to check um, her side. But as I was saying, this is Sochil. This is a very good interview with her, because she's letting us know what's going on in Mexico right now, why the carpetazo, like you might know it as, which means that they're trying to close. She's back now. They're trying to close the investigation in
Hey,
Mexico. Can you hear me now?
yeah, I had to go out and then come back in. I think it was the connection.
I could still hear you and see you, what we were saying. Maybe on
Really?
the live. Yeah.
I couldn't hear, and then I just saw the whole. Yeah, it was probably me. It was probably my connection.
Yeah. So I'm so
Sorry. I
happy
was like,
that you broke that chain, Sochil, and I want
oh,
to know
but you
you.
were
I'm
saying
proud
something
of you.
about but you were saying something about your family, and like how I do believe that your daughter, and that she carried that with her, where I think it was very like a safe bubble around her, because that's what studies show, that predators, they look after prey that a prey that doesn't have really much of a fight or defense. And so I do believe that, yeah, it's not that she was lucky. I just do believe that he knew, and or the people around him knew that his parents would, protect her. And so that's where I think that um, that's not, I think it's not luck. I just think it's like having parents, having grown-ups around you who are there to
So
protect you and defend you, and do whatever they can to just always keep you safe, is very important, in churches, schools, wherever you are. It doesn't matter where you are, even in your family. That's where they are the most.
or
It's
you
one
have a
in
generation, you
it's
have
one
parents.
in 4 girls and 1 in 6 boys who are going to be sexually abused by the time they're 18. And the higher percentages are family members or of people who know the child. So, just keep a close eye on your kids. And I do think that that's something, it was a work you and your husband did to take care of your daughter, and they knew it. But yeah, unfortunately, some of us were not lucky. And
Oh, she left us again. I have se nos fue. She left us again. I'm pretty sure she's gonna come back right now. She has technical difficulties, guys. But I was also, as I was saying, that I also I'm so glad that we have broken that chain. Um, let me see. Let me see if she's coming back. If she's coming back, she's having technical difficulties. Déjame, le mando texto. Aquí está, ya regresó. Regresaste. You're back. Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you started like breaking up, and then I was trying to talk to you, and then
Yeah.
you were not listening. I don't think you were listening to me. And
Sí,
then,
porque me dijo así que estaba, oh, perdón, el micrófono está, le estaba diciendo a Sharim que me salí y me decía ahí que something went wrong. Pero yo estaba viendo mi mano y cuando vi para arriba tenía rato que se había cortado y dije yo, ¿cuánto tiempo tengo yo hablando sola entonces?
no,
Pero, en fin, ya me volví a meter. Mira, me está saliendo otra vez. Having trouble connecting. Oh, no. What's
I can still
happening?
hear you. Can you hear me though?
And your connection's good, huh?
Yeah, my connection is good. Can you hear me
This is
well?
a sign.
I was like, "Ay, girl,
Hello? Es que es mi conexión, yo creo.
yeah. Yeah, she left me again. No me dejes sola. I don't know. I think she's coming back anytime. A ver. Se me está yendo la conexión. Bueno, se le fue la conexión a Sochil. Sochil connection is bad right now. I'm pretty sure she's listening to me. I think she's coming back. We're almost done with the interview. And I just want to do a little recap of what we're talking about today. We're saying that in Mexico, the investigation closed back in December 17 of 2026. And well, she received an email letting her know about what was going on. And obviously, hold on a second. Obviously, her and Charima fighting back to get it reopened. And oh, there she is. She's back in.
That was a different phone.
I got a different phone. Can you hear me now?
Yeah. He's like, it's going to be better connection because this one's connected to just the house, and yours is going to get it directly from the wife. I'm like, hey, that's because he had to use my phone, so I grabbed a different phone.
Okay. Well, welcome back. Welcome back. So you were saying it's not luck. It's basically that it's either they know who they look for. They know who they go after.
Yeah.
So either they go to broken children, or I was saying also they go to moms or to daughters of the moms who had been groomed, or they had been also victims,
right,
of the organization. So that's basically who they go after.
Right. When they see that like they have their levels of like testing the parents. And so, for example, and it's like very generational, because my aunt, what was known in my family, and this is something that she had said, and like unfortunately the family reacted horribly towards her, and they called her a liar, and that she had been essayed by Carlos Montemayor, and he was a pastor of the Redlands Church, and she was just a little girl. And what happens? Samuel finds out and then gets her to come out and stay with him. And my grandparents were like, yeah, they signed an affidavit. They gave the information she needed, and bye-bye, daughter. And it's like, yeah, you just left her to the hands of like a child predator.
Yeah.
And he tested you, grandpa, and like grandma, like what you didn't do anything to protect her. And so it's very normal. So certain families, it'll be normal. It'll be very normalized as like, oh yeah. And it's like, dude, you're lucky. It's a blessing, right?
How did you feel? How do you feel that now you're protecting your daughter? How do you feel?
It's like the little me.
Hold on. How do you feel that you're paying a big sacrifice? Because She doesn't have access to her grandmas. You don't have access to your family. People have, I mean, in my case, they see me in the grocery store and they turn around and just like this morning, yesterday morning, I went to the grocery store and I'm going like through the aisle and this couple coming to the pharmacy and I see them, they see me and they're like they, I don't know, they just like turn around and leave. Like they were my friends.
Yeah, that's
They
sad.
have my wedding video and I don't even know what happened to it. And I couldn't stop and ask him, hey, do you know where my wedding video is? You still have it? Can I go pick it up? Blah, 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 blah. They just totally ignore me. So my question to you is, I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people, and you have a lot of haters, a lot of haters. I mean, just for the fact that you spoke, just for the fact that you came out and talked, just especially La Luz del Mundo haters. I mean, I know that.
Well, they're like,
How do you feel paying that price for your daughter's safety? Are you proud of that? Because I am proud of
yeah,
you.
because like going back to the what you were mentioning about the people in LDM who hate me, it's like you're hating me, but you know that I'm telling the truth. I'm not saying anything that you and come on, if you're gonna say we're lying, like all of us are lying, then it's like I get that maybe in your head they're not okay. Health wise, mentally they are not okay. So the fact that it's all worth it for my daughter's health, for us, like if I would have stayed, I would have known my future, and I don't even think I would be alive. I honestly think I probably would have already taken my life, because I don't think I would have been able to just keep going. And then my even after in the process of these, oh my god, I don't know, since 2016, these years, like she's seen a lot and she's had to also sacrifice a lot and like lose things and people and relationships and places and homes and so many things, her just normalcy. But I do think that now where we are in time, it's so hard to heal when there's no justice. It's so hard to heal, but we try to. And so just having us three, I do feel that we're everything we need. And as long as she has mom and dad that are here to protect her, keep her safe, and if there are moments where I even find that I think that that's too dangerous, I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to leave my daughter without it, because I do know that my life is in danger. I do know that my husband's life is in danger, and that my daughter's life is in danger. I do know that. And it's just not do anything where I'm going to go and I'm just right expose myself to a point. And so if they find me and they come here, which they've done in the past, girl, these people. But anyway, like when they come to me, but in essence, it's like, how do I keep my daughter from no believing that she's alone, it's like, no, we're not there anymore. That's a big win. But the fact, and yeah, it sucks that we had to lose everything. But slowly we've been gaining other things. Like now we have a family it's an adopted family, right? And we've told both you and your husband how much we care for you guys, and we feel you're our friends that we love like family. And it's so hard to get to a point where you can trust people again, and where you can feel that bond of knowing that there's this unconditional, you know, just love for. It's like
We love
you don't believe in what I believe, or I said something that may have offended you. It's like, no, when you love somebody, it's going to come with imperfectness. But at the end of the day, if out of belief, or you know what, I don't want to go there in my history, but if you want to talk about it, like I'm there for you. I wasn't asking for my aunt for much. I was just first she just left, and I never saw her again after everything happened, like I was nothing. And so these are all things, like my daughter has healed, but it's like I'm still healing. And it's really hard to like have that little me who's just trying to go and play. I can now, as an adult, I can tell that little me, like, hey, go and play. Like I've got this now. Like I'm gonna be who wasn't there for you, like the grown up, right? That like says,
and I
yeah,
heard somebody somewhere when what happened to you, it's how do I explain this to, because I had a little girl coming to me and saying, I went through this, I went through that, and she was abused and all that. And I'm talking about somebody here in town that she was talking to me, and I was telling her, you know what, everything that happened to you, you're gonna make sure that it's not happening to your daughter, because you're gonna be a better mom.
Yeah.
I know that everything that happened to you is not gonna happen to your daughter,
Yeah.
because you're not gonna let it happen to your daughter. And your daughter's gonna have a beautiful life, enjoying her dolls, enjoying her concerts at school, enjoying her anything she wants to do,
Yeah.
anything she wants to be. She wants to try her makeup, you're gonna be there to help her. She wants to
Yeah.
try earrings, you're gonna be there to help her. If she wants to go dancing, you're gonna be like, sure, let's go dancing. You're gonna do
Yeah.
everything you couldn't do because of the price you paid. And I'm so proud of you. You know that I love you a lot too.
I love you. Yeah.
Together. We've had good times together. We have
Yeah.
danced together. we
We've
have
laughed so many
we have
times.
laughed together. We have sang together.
Yeah.
I still have videos of us having a good time, going downtown and stuff like that. Um, I'm so proud of you. I just wanted to know, and I'm so happy that you're here with me today, and I just want to let you know that I'm very proud of you,
And I'm
and thank you
too.
for giving me this interview. And oh my God, give a
I'm
hug to me.
proud of you too, girl. Like you have this space, you have like this podcast that you just went out and you did it, and you're getting the word out there, and like for all the other moms, like
And
this is that's
I
what it's
remember
about.
and I remember when you told me, Alma, and I was like, no, I'm not ready to talk. I'm not,
So
and
what?
Libra talked about it, that like she wasn't ready, and I wasn't ready, so I
Yeah.
wasn't, and that's why I understand a lot of people that are not ready yet. And I talked to this young man here in my town, and he started asking me questions about what's going on. Is it true? They saying this, and I started giving him information. And you know what happened? At one point, he sent me a text, and he said, "Stop. I'm not willing to lose my family. I'm not willing to, even if it's true, even all this is true. I'm not willing to leave my family, my mom, my little girl. I know that my wife, I think they got married in Guadalajara, or she's from Guadalajara, somewhere over there.
Yeah.
And my wife, the moment she knows that I'm doubting, she's gonna leave me, and she's
Yeah.
gonna take my daughter with me. Now, you know what? Stop. I don't want to know nothing about it. And I said, well, if you want to be there, because even though you know the truth, there's nothing we can do about it. And
Yeah.
there's a lot of people that they just like socialize. They know what's going on. We
Yeah.
have people here, they know what's going on. They
But
even talk
then
about it.
they
And
shouldn't
they
have to
stay
come
there.
to you. If he's still gonna stay there, he shouldn't have to come to you and say now, like, give me information, because now, unfortunately, this is how I see it. If that was my situation, I couldn't trust a person like that now, because I don't know
No, he doesn't.
if
He's
he's
not coming.
taking that information
No,
back to
he stopped coming to me. He stopped coming to me. This is just kind of about like 3 years ago, like when
Mm.
everything started it.
Oh,
So
okay.
his mom was very good friends with me. But after that, he's like, they like apart. Like they don't want nothing to do with me because of the information that at the moment he asked for. So I gave him.
Yeah.
But then he's like, no, I don't want to know nothing about it because I don't want to lose everything I have. Which I respect that.
Well,
You know,
yeah.
there's socializing there. It's understandable, but anyways. So now what?
Yeah.
Sophie? Now what? What's gonna happen now? What is next? What did they tell you
So
yesterday? Or do you have anything that was the next step? Are we going like I heard somewhere, or I read somewhere, that it's gonna be until the 27th of April,
correct.
that it's gonna I guess they're gonna that the judge is looking at the documents right now, and then gonna come out on April 27th to give a verdict, or what is expected to happen on the 27th, which is
So
what
what
next.
we are gonna do is speak now. Well, they're gonna speak on if it's gonna reopen, if it, not so much who closed it or whatever. It's like, is it reopening? So that's just what we're gonna find out. Is it gonna reopen or it's not gonna reopen? It's so that's why it's like it's not it's just going to reopen. But it's been open for so long now. What we had been asking for before they closed it is like, now, you know, this needs to now go further, you know, judicialize it. Now you have to look into the first people who have personally been reported, and they have warrants out for their arrest for the same crimes, including the same people, you know, and other victims who have either been witnesses to it or know it, or maybe they haven't, but just to know that they have fugitives of the law here in well, they have them in Mexico. They should be now really investigating it, not just reopening it and like having it sit there, because then it's like, what did we do this for to begin with? And yeah, let's hope that everything was worth it. Like, speaking out with the media, my husband hasn't even gone to work, and there's a lot of things that have been going on, and like our lives have been just detained. But it's like, that's, again, it's like telling the government again, it's like, come on, like, help us just get these people, get them away from people, get them away from kids, look into this organization, just do your job and let us continue. And we just want to heal. Like, we want to just have our own lives. And then every time that things like this happen, and it seems like there's always one and after another, and it's like, it's so hard to just have a normal healing, like, just have a journey, and as survivors of it, like, you as the government, now you're re-victimizing me. So it's like LDM and you. It's like, that's why that's the problem. That's why so many people don't report, because of what you're doing to us. And that's why I always say, like, I know that they're screwing up now, but it's like, if you're living in the US, if there's anything that they did, anything from your life and what you lived, that you feel that you were harmed, report that. Do the right thing, because what happened to you is still happening. It's if you see it that it was wrong and that it was an abuse to you, whether if you were a kid, like, you wouldn't have wanted to have done that, like, that made you, and you say, hey, that, I feel like they did violate my rights, go report that. I'm not going to tell you what to report, but you can go report. You have the privilege to report here in the United States, in any Mexican embassy, and say that what it is that you want to report on these crimes that you believe happened to you from La Luz del Mundo or any of these people connected to it, but it's all under the same case. So this is like the time what to do. This is like what I hope I leave here with in this conversation. Like, they do a lot of damage, not just to me or to the victims and survivors who spoke out in Mexico, or the survivors who have spoken out here in the United States. Anybody cooperating with authorities, that's considered whistleblowing. It's considered speaking up. Your story matters more than you think. Your life, what you lived, these abuses, these crimes that committed against you, are no less than another. Like, there's no, well, that didn't happen to me, so it wasn't, like, no. If you were a child and you had to go sell chocolates every Saturday, or go, they didn't let you do this, or you weren't allowed to speak to members of your family for whatever reason, or especially if you had sexual abuse happen to you. But anything that ever happened to you, even as an adult, your husband used to hit you and the ministry used to tell you to stay, or of a little girl who was sexually abused and you were told, and the people were told to keep it quiet. They took your social security number, they made you open accounts, they had you give your I don't know, your student loan, anything that you feel that they did against your human rights. Like, this is the time to speak. This is the time that people are listening, and that the authorities are being forced now to listen. At least that's what I feel that we also got out of all of this, that we let them know we're not going to stand down, and we're not going to be, we're not going to go and hide and say, well, okay, oh, well, no, because this can't stop here. Like, LDM is an operation that needs to be stopped, and they have all of their power, all of the tools that they need to make that happen. So yeah, they just need to investigate, do the right thing, and like survivors, like if you're out there and you're in the United States, like, I hope that this fuels you to report, and you have every right to know and have access to what you report in Mexican law. So just know your rights.
So,
And
so if you're here in United States and you want to report something um, from the light of the world, you're
that
saying
happened.
you can go to the Mexican embassy?
But that happened in Mexico. So if
Like,
you're in
have
Texas,
it happened in Mexico?
Colorado, wherever, hmm
If
there's
it
a
happens in
Mexican.
the United States, you can contact basically the FBI of any agency in United States.
So the FBI would only, that because of jurisdiction, they are here in the United States. So if you had a crime committed against you in the United States by La Luz del Mundo and any of the organization, that's something that needs to be reported here. And I'm sure you've provided that number. If not, like, I'll send it to you. And they have it public with the Department of Homeland Security. And if you call that office, you call that number, and that takes you directly to the unit and who you have to report it to, and that's how that happens. But there were crimes that were committed against you in Mexico, and these are, like, you can report it to the authorities, yes, here, but there are also jurisdictions. So know that what happened to you and the abuse that happened to you over there, or you have, like, they stole your land. There are people that tell us, like, yeah, they stole my whole ranch. They stole my house. They have it, like, these are all crimes. Don't say, like, oh, that didn't matter to me. Like, why do you not matter? Why does it not matter that they took that from you? They took a home from you. They stole your property. They stole your money. They stole your money to go to school, to have an education. Your family, if you were abused or assaulted in any way, silenced in any way for any physical or violence that happened to you, these are all forms of abuse, whether you were a child or an adult. It's, just coming together, and the more we can prove that it's not just one, but it's so many more, that we're saying that this is a dangerous place. Good. Nason's not considered a pastor anymore in Mexico. Okay, what's the next step? Well, that's what's going to happen next. Now we have to inform that a child who is being forced to learn or to be educated on a child sex offender or a sex offender, that's a crime in Mexico. I'm not sure about the United States. I just heard about, like, this is something that's happening in Mexico and the United States and around the world. So these are love songs that children have to sing. These are and many of them are about Nason Joaquin, or the current apostle. So having a child being forced to sing songs, love songs of devotion and unlimited amounts of love and slavery for him, those are all forms of child abuse. So I do believe that that's something that we need to start pushing forward. And politicians who are absolutely linked, whether their families, themselves, to this criminal institution, we're going to start to call them out one by one. And we've been doing it in the past. Shadi more so because he's the one that lived it. But now many of them have wives, and many of them who have their family members. It always goes back to the same pattern. Now, let's say Sergio Mayer, who there was this thing because my husband called him out, and he was angry, and we found out that he wanted to speak to him, and he was very upset, and he got mad at somebody else who was like, in any case, he was very offended. He was very offended. And I'm like, I want to believe, because not every single politician that sat with you guys, I get it, you did it the dirty way the first time, but that you were involved in it. So the first time, I want to believe that you went to Bellas Artes because you just were invited to, like, this awesome party at Bellas Artes, and, like, oh, you get to meet this guy. You go outside, and it's like, oh, the whole play was about you? Oh my goodness, like, this is crazy. Go outside, and there's, like, massive amount of people, and he was like, what the hell? For this guy? Like this shit right here? Like, that's what you guys are all, like, crazy about right now? Like, NJG for life? Like, this is crazy. He has said it. And it's
Yep.
like, the guy is, like, almost completely obsessed with the idea that this place has so much power. So anyway, we find out by a friend of mine. She was in the Legionarios de Cristo cult, and she sends me some pictures that she had found on his content, on Sergio Mayer's content, of him hosting a an award party that was given to Israel Zamora. And it's like, you can't say you didn't know now. Now you know, you knew. And after everything,
Was it this after he got arrested?
yeah, this is after he got arrested. Everybody was pointing him out for Bellas Artes, like all of this stuff that he has been defending himself, saying like, no, no, no. Then this proves that he had been in, he still gave him an award, like knowing who he was. After knowing because he sees numbers, they see the votes. He loves to feel like he had people there running after him, giving him things, and like they see votes. And this guy's his buddy.
Wow.
You know, it's like it goes back to who Rogelio, who Israel Zamora is. Like, let's talk about his family. Who's his dad? It's Rogelio Zamora. He's in the Mexican files. He's in the files here too. He's in the civil case. That's all reported with every authority. These bishops are reported everywhere. You cannot use your power of a bishop and the lawyer of the church to come and sit down here and tell a victim of your church who's telling you as a member that she was hurt and violated by the apostle, and that they now fear their life, and that the fact that you're sitting there trying to buy them out, that right there is a crime as well. We have you literally recorded. Now, the authorities have all of that, including the Mexican authorities.
Wow. And they still not doing anything.
That's his dad. And then who the other bishop that was there? Come on, his daughter is a judge in Jalisco. That's how all these ties are all set in.
Menchaca, right? That's Menchaca.
That's Menchaca.
The other bishop.
Yeah. And then his wife, Israel's wife, the Coronado is a massive family. It's a very old family in LDM. It holds a lot of power. So it's not just the husband, it's who the wife is as well. It's a mafia. This is a mafia. So yeah, I do think that this was heard in the country, and unfortunately, I wish that here in the US, like, people cared more, not just about this case, but like about other cases that are happening that relates to like our people, like our community. And in LA, the LDM it's very known, but it's not something that really interests people. And I'm not sure in Texas, but like I do wish that the US cared more. But I kind of think about it, but then I'm like, hey, in Mexico, when the case happened, like they were saying, Morena was like, look at all the politicians that are all tired. This is terrible. This is like a crime of the state. This is horrible. And it's like, you have literally LDM and San Joaquin in your own country, because you have several members of your political party who are members of the elites in LDM, and you have physical pictures of them, not AI. It's literally you
with you and them,
with them, buddies at a restaurant, at your house, at outside of the province, at like Holy Supper, like these, you're praying there. Like Eunice was like, I am not, stop saying things that are not true. And to my husband, it's like he said, I try to look for what you said. I did not find any connection. Like trying to call my husband out, and I'm like, dude, you can go on Google and write your name, and LLDM is going to pop right up.
Mm-hmm.
We're saying things that are public. Like you're there even praying in their pulpit. Not everybody has that honor. Like who has that honor? Giving his back to the apostles' pulpit. Nobody.
Yeah.
Like, because he's a senator, even if you're not a member. But like, what were you doing here? There in the Holy Suppers, like these guys. Like,
I remember that.
Believe them. I don't believe these politicians. I don't believe that they're there for the people. But they're just. I just believe that they need to stay out of it. Look, they shut up the senator who was speaking up. She was nervous. Like I could tell she was nervous,
I saw that. I saw that.
right? Like she was. You
They
could
kept
tell.
on talking, and they're like, okay, this is not the time. This is not the moment. And she's like, she
Yeah,
ignored the whole thing until they turn off the microphone.
yeah, it's horrible. Like you're. What did she say? Oh, because she said stick to what you were going to talk about, human rights. I'm like, fuck, like you
That's
don't know what
human rights. That was
you
human.
don't know what human rights are. Like she is talking about it, dude. That is human rights. Slavery, modern day slavery, is literally taking people's rights away. Like human rights. That's what they took from all of us, hundreds and thousands of people for now 100 years. This shit has been going on. Excuse my French, but it is. It's poop. LDM is poop. It is not a church. It can be a religion, but it doesn't mean that it's a healthy religion. It doesn't mean that it's a good place to find moral ethics. If you're gonna be a church and hold this amount of power to be a spiritual guidance for somebody, know that you have an immense amount of power. It's so for a person to give you that belief, that spiritual and mental, unconditional, just trust. You have so much power, and if you abuse that, you should be in prison forever. Like to take somebody like to use God and all of these things, in the name of something so pure, or of what you see. It's like
It's, I
having
mean,
these positions.
I mean, I understand. I understand. Okay, let's say that as believers, we did a lot of stuff that we were asked to do. But come on, messing around with kids, that's another that's another
That's a
level.
sickness, girl. It's like you sir, you think it doesn't hurt me, girl, that I have had to report my aunt so many times. Like my mom, she's my mom. To me, she was my mom. I've had to report her several times. I feel so sad for her. I feel so sad for her, but she needs to be away from kids. She needs to be away from young girls, because Adoraim will soon have the position and power his dad does, or if and when Nason were to not, let's just say, not be alive anymore, because that's how LDM functions. Not
Yeah.
until the apostle dies, right?
Mm.
It's not like, hey, let's all vote. While one's still alive, let's see who we like better. Like, it's like, no, you're screwed. Once he's there, it's for life. And
Yeah.
so he's, she's in the future kids of the church who will have my aunt anyway for their minister. If there's a new apostle, they're going to be in danger. And a lot of women like her, a lot of women, they're still out there. So many women, so many pastors who knew about it and get their wives to do it. So it's like, that's where the ickiness is, but anyway, girl, I already took up too much of your time. Instead, we went on. We
It's
just needed tea and
what,
right,
2 hours and 32 minutes. No, I took away that time of your family. I know you've been very busy all these couple of days, 3 days. I've been seeing you like all over the places, and I'm like, girl, this girl doesn't even sleep.
Oh,
You
girl.
know
No, I've
what?
had a lot of.
I am the moment that made my day. It's when the senator talk about it, when the other lady that say that Nason didn't have his license anymore in Mexico, and when the president talked about him, like, who is getting up there? So they're listening.
They're listening
They're
to us,
listening.
girl. All of us. And this all matters, like everything, because it's not just us two anymore. There's so many of us now. There's just so many of us now. And it's a beautiful thing. Every time we're just more and more and more. And even though the bishops, and they try to make the members believe that there's more of them and they're more powerful, and it's like, it's sad because so many of them are there out of fear, and they're there just with hopes that he's going to come out and everything they've been telling them is true. Just there, if they hold in there just a little bit longer. But some of them are bled out dry, like they have no more money, they've sold their properties, all of it, for their lawyers. They're terrible, terrible people. The bishops are terrible, terrible people, and their whole network.
Yep.
So we're hoping that we just continue going, girl. Let's just all keep.
And at least the people that are there, that they don't want to come out because of fear, at least for them to get educated in what's going on and protect their kids. If
Yeah.
you're there for social life, I mean, you don't want to come out because you're gonna lose everything. Like we lost everything. I think that's a major fear, to lose everything. I mean, Sochil,
Or
I came in when I was 15.
yeah.
I got married in church. I had my kids in church. I presented them. They got baptized there. Every single birthdays, they had the little friends, and I had my friends coming over. We didn't go out there looking for friends. It was our family.
Yeah.
This was our family. So we get out of there, and guess what? We have nobody anymore,
Yeah.
because I told my friends at work when I was younger, I was like, oh no, I cannot go out with you because I'm not supposed to be going where you're going, to the bar,
Right.
to the
You're
party,
bad,
or to
right?
listen to music, or the movies. I'm not supposed to do that. So I'm not going to do it. No, I'm sorry, I can't. So you know what? At one point, they stopped asking me. They stopped inviting me because Alma wasn't going. They stopped hanging around with me because Alma was not fun. Because Alma had things to do, like going to church after work, like hurry up, let's finish this because I got to go to church. I have to go home, feed my kids, go to church. And that was my life. And then I decided to come out in 2019. And I'm like, now what?
Yeah.
Who's
I,
here?
when I first spoke to you, and
Who's
you
there? Who's
so
going to my funeral? I
sad.
said.
It was so sad because oh, you look so cute. She painted her face like a zebra. It's so cool. She's you did a good job, Mama. She
I was.
your teeth are all like you look so cute. Like a kitten zebra.
Yeah, what do you have? We have our kids, we have our family, we
Yeah.
have guys, we have people that have, and you know what? Out there's a lot of good people also that have, like in my birthday. Oh my God, they arrived with flowers. I
Oh.
got flowers. I got gifts. I got cards. Um, I got money, and I was like, wow, I feel so special. And this is Gentiles. These are people that have nothing to
They told us we're bad, huh?
do.
Yeah.
Yes, there's good people out there, and I really hope that you find a lot of people like that out there as
I
well.
do.
Because and
I
they're
such great people. And I always say the same thing you just said now about like whether it's your coworkers or friends you found on the outside. But I've had the honor of meeting just the most beautiful people and in every way. And I just and I'm like, these are people who I was told were
not to hang
all
around.
gonna go to hell. And it's so sad for us, Joel, because it's like you see your teachers and if you have good teachers, you're like, oh, it's so sad that they're gonna go to hell. Or it's like people that you meet, if it's like, oh, it's so sad that that person's gonna go to hell because that's how they teach you.
Yeah,
And so I do.
our kids, like, no, 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 you cannot hang around with them because they're not
Yeah.
people from God. One thing I regret is to tell my daughter she couldn't, stand up in quinceañeras and, wave
Oh,
stuff
yeah.
because no, you can't do that. She I was like, why? I wanted to be one of their, may, ¿cómo se llama?
Oh,
Bridesmaids, or especially in the world, and we couldn't. But anyways, now
and
we're
I was like, I'm like, I would have loved to have been on like in a sport. I would have loved to have been in a sport like in baseball or like football or soccer maybe, but like some kind of sport. And I really loved baseball. I'm like, I wish I would have been given that chance. Like, but everything was just so controlled. But it's like,
I think in your case it was more controlled because you came from a family who was really deep in there. In my case, like when I started going to high school and I wanted to get into JROTC, I remember I did get into JROTC, and we were supposed to wear either skirts or I mean pants or skirts. And I remember that I showed up with my skirt. It was like a
oh,
skirt to my knees, I think. And then
yeah,
the teacher looked at me and he was like, "You're not supposed to be wearing that." And I was like, "Well, that's the uniform. I'm sorry." And I was,
see,
I guess, in my way. So I the only thing I did, le bajé la bastilla, like 2 or 3 fingers to the whatever you call it, and
yeah,
bajé, so it was like it was not my knee, it was like really, really under my knee. And I told him that's all I can do because
Yeah.
I don't have any more pastillas. So
Yeah.
he dealt with it, and he would get mad at me, and I was like, whatever. I was still
Yeah.
doing stuff that I wanted to do, certain stuff. But I'm pretty sure in your case, you had family from family generations that they were just like, no, this is what you have
Because
to
your
do.
mom would have been right there next to you saying like, no, you, if you got to wear your uniform, you wear your
Yeah,
uniform.
it was a gentleman. So, so anyways,
Yeah.
thank you. Well, what are you laughing about? What is she doing now?
Hattie came in, she popped her hand in like that, and I think she smushed all the makeup together with
Oh,
like spray, but and she's just smiling, and I could see her eyes. Stop it! You're making me laugh. But
oh,
yeah, like there's so many good people that we've met on the outside, and there's good people inside of the cult, girl. But everything they're doing and the things that they've done, and they've done out of love and hope and like faith, and it's really sad. And everything we did too, but they're still there, and it's very sad when you see them like go on spaces and be ugly people, and say nasty things instead of really worrying and saying, hey, if that's really happening, like I have kids here, I need to make sure that these people have background checks. Like, if you're gonna
but
be you're gonna talk to my
you
kid.
know the people that we see on the store or we see on a public place, and they're like, "Ah, you're doing a good job," and you're like, "Okay, they're at a church," and then we see the post from the Facebook from the church and all that, and then you're like, "Oh, they passed to sing," and then you're like, "Oh, I guess it's still there." Mhm.
Yeah, girl. Like these are people who are maybe there because it's like, it's
And I understand. I mean, it's
we
hard.
understand
It's hard to be out here. It's hard.
it is. And there are people who aren't out here and they're not in there. They just have done their life. And it's like, dude, it's fine. And there's nothing wrong with it. There are people who haven't, they've done it. Maybe they haven't reported it, but they're always like, hey, if they want to reach out, yeah, like fine, like I'm good. Anything I can help in. And if not, like, girl, like I just kind of want to live my life. And it's everybody's choice, but it doesn't mean that they don't agree or they disagree. Like they'll be on, and these are all like, people that reach out on Instagram, and they'll tell me some of their stories, and it's like, oh, but now, like, I just do my thing. I left 2 years ago, or I left 3 years ago, and I'm doing great now. And they just kind of give me like a short version of like since they got out. And it's so beautiful to see. It's so beautiful to like know that so many of us are just like free. We're out of there. Like, hey, run, get out, run for your life.
It
No,
is. I feel happy about it, and I feel happy to have known other people that have left. And sometimes we like when my daughter makes some parties or whatever, and then I see people like close by, that certain cities, and they're like, "Hey, how are you?" I mean, they're so different now. They like more outgoing, more happy, and yeah. I mean, we all
yeah.
know when we stop and think about the past. Of course, we get like serious, and sometimes you remember our parties, we just joke around and stuff like
I love it.
that.
Yeah,
So,
true.
Shilwa, thank you for
About
joining me. Thank you
yeah,
for joining me, and thank you for being here with me almost 3 hours, girl.
for having me, girl. It's like talking. Oh, you're my friend, and I nada más me faltaba mi té
I know.
and to
And
chill. But I love you. Give all my love to the family, and
we
thank
love
you for to everybody who's still here and you listened, or if you finished listening to it tomorrow, for listening to us and for caring about this.
for those who asked to do it in English because they wanted to understand what was going on. There are people listening in English. What do you tell them?
Oh, if you're here, like if you have questions and there are certain things that you would like to even know, whether it's over there or over here, we're more than happy to like answer. But if it's for the Mexican case, that's something that always depending on what the lawyer says, and then also if the communication with the DA now continues, there is also certain information that we can't give out because we want to protect the investigation. We don't want these guys to like know what's happening and to escape. And then also with the American authorities, like that's the number. Like you have questions, you're a survivor of there. You if I do a report, like what's the protocol? Like what happens? Like those aren't questions for me. Those aren't questions for Alma or any of us. That's absolutely up to them. So you guys would just call their office, and they would may either give you a time or an appointment if you want to speak to somebody like on the case, whether you have questions of your self-reporting, and if they have questions regarding the case because you survived that cult and you want to know because of your own safety, or that's something that you can ask them. And if they don't answer right away, like, keep in mind they have like other cases. So just always call back. Like, maybe you called on a Tuesday and in the morning, and it was really, they didn't get back to you, so maybe you call on a Wednesday or something, or a Thursday in the afternoon. Just kind of work through it if it's something that you really, but you do hope that people will find that what they lived doesn't matter, and it's not worth reporting. It is worth reporting. It did matter, and it does matter, and it makes this only so much stronger. But yeah, like, I do think that for all the people who are here and you're listening in English, it's like, let's talk about it more here, like what's happening here, and what's happening in Mexico here, like both countries. It's happening in Colombia. It's happening in different parts of the world. But all of America, it's very different because we're like literally connected. So in Tijuana, like in Texas, like these are states, California, Texas, these are border states. So a lot of the trafficking goes in through here. A lot of the crimes go in through here in these states. So these are the states that we need, more like, those brave souls. You can be completely anonymous and report both in the US and in Mexico. If you want to report in both or in either, you can be completely anonymous and nobody would have that information, only the judge and the lawyers. But in the criminal cases, so like that would be the government who would have that information, so it stays private. And from what I know, like, what it's all anonymity, and the judge will decide if it's for safety, it can be completely anonymous. So that's because it's organized crime and because it's such a sensitive case, that it's all under, like, I chose to come out in both California and Mexico or in the US. Like, nobody forced me to. Like, even over there, it's Isabella, not because I gave a fake name or because they made me be public. No, they're very, like, well, the DA before this one, I don't know how this one works, but the one before was very careful with the anonymity of all the other victims. Like, when they wanted to know information, I'm talking LDM people, she was very quiet, very reserved. Like, she even had people on her team, like, make sure that they were no way connected to LDM. Like, she researched them to make sure that none of them were connected to LDM, because they would know then the
Detail.
yeah, exactly, of the survivors who reported. But there are many ways that you can do it and still feel like safe, just asking questions. And I hope I did. I answered everything that you got. If you guys want to know more about like what's happening, like in other coercive control groups, like know more about cults, there's a lot of information in the United States. It's more limited in Mexico, unfortunately. But in the United States, there's a lot. There are doctors who have lived and breathed cults because they actually lived and got out of cults, who have written books, who have podcasts, who have research clinics, who have written doctoral dissertations. They've there's just so much information that we can learn from. And like, oh, the more you know, it's like, oh, I can heal from this because I didn't know it was just me. It's actually very normal that my brain was going through that because I was in a cult, right? So it's super, super important that we know and we put names to, what happened to us and what that process looks like. So yeah, I hope I answered everybody's questions after almost 3 hours, but I had fun.
I did too. Sochil, if you don't mind, I would like to ask your permission. If I can go ahead and do like a recap on this podcast, or on this live, especially with the last words that you gave us, and kind of like maybe make a little bit shorter for the purpose of people going back and seeing it, faster and all that stuff. But if it's okay with you, I don't want to do it, and then you're like, she cut this.
No, go ahead. Completely. No, please go ahead. And And in any way that I can ever help anybody who says like, hey, how can I, you said something and it really interests me, and how can I know more about that? And I'm gonna contact her on I only have one social media outlet that I actually go on. TikTok, I'm not really on there because I'm an old lady and I just kind of want to see food on there. I don't have Facebook. I don't really use X. But Instagram, like, if you want to reach out and say like, hey, I know a survivor. It's not really LDM related, but she's from a certain cult. We know several survivors who have their own movements of these organized groups that they've survived, that they've gotten out of. So maybe if you know somebody, or you are somebody who got out of a place like this, and you maybe you're here because you relate to it, or you know of somebody who relates to it. I do think that it's important to like connect with that community, because for us, at least LDM community, like survivors of LDM, it was really weird, and it sounds really weird, but we had our own like language, and we had our own ways of like living things. So finding your community is super important, and I hope I can just like write in big letters, because sometimes I probably, or you can reach out to our producer here for this beautiful channel, and I can send it to her, and if I don't answer, it's not because I don't want to answer, it's just sometimes it's very overwhelming. But I always try. And then, yeah, you never know when you're going to run into like, I'm going to murder you in front of your family sort of messages, right? But
Have
yeah,
you gotten actually those messages, Sochil?
yeah, these people are crazy, girl.
Wow.
These people are once they took a picture of my daughter eating her food, and then they messaged it to me, and then when I read it, I was like, that person was in the restaurant while we were eating, and and saying that they were gonna essay her and murder her in front of me. And I was like, you were here and I didn't see you. And it's something that my husband says, like, when they're women, they're easy to point out because it's like, oh my god, maybe she's LDM, right? And you get all panicked. But then when they're men, you don't know. They can look like everybody else, like all the other men. You never know. So it's very scary. But yeah, girl, it's real. These people.
Man, fanatics. ¿Qué te iba a decir? Well, yeah, I mean, because of what you said, we have like, we speak in the same language because we were there. How do you feel when you go to other podcasts and they'll hear you and they're like, really?
Oh
Like,
my god, us too.
what?
Yes, it happens.
And you're like, yeah, we're trying to say this and that, and they're like,
There's so many, girl. There's so many cults. It's religious ones. Like, these are so they're very so religious cults, criminal cults anyway, are very different from, like, let's say self-help cults, right? Or like these kind of, yeah, from different senses. You have your, like, because of these energies and these crystals, and you just, all you have to bring me is a network of 10 people, and you have to pay $1,000 a month if you want to be healed, like all these little things, right? And then we're all going to go live in the desert in Arizona, and we all just have to buy a house together, like cult. But anyway, like, there are so many of these places that have had so many people get out of them, and they're like, holy crap, like, I really relate to this one or that one. But the religious ones are so connected. We're so connected. Especially the Christian ones. The Catholic, which the Catholic ones, like Catholic, they have because they had theirs too. That's like the original. That's like it originated as that. Like, you're not gonna be Catholic, we're gonna murder you. Like, that's, come on, that's a cult.
yeah,
But I do think that a lot of these groups, they function the same. They're all organized crime. These are mafias. They've worked like mafias. They are what they are. There are cults, and then there are criminal cults. But it's so important to understand where you were at and how you can relate to that community, because that's how you're gonna heal, to like get it out. And maybe they're all gonna go hang out and paint at the park or something, or I don't know, go hang out and walk their dogs, and just getting to meet somebody. And I know it's hard to talk to people and like meet new people, and it's very stressful, or maybe that's just me.
This is
But
you. I love to talk to everybody. That's why I get in trouble a lot.
yeah, no, I'm very much like the less I get very stressed and I have to meet new people and like um but it's always important to get that out there, because you never know when you're going to meet somebody who's going to say something, whether it's their own experience or something they lived or they believe or they want to share, that can help you that day or can help you heal somehow. So the more like opening yourself up to a community, and you're going to have people that are going to come in and they're going to hurt you and they'll take advantage or just hurt you. But because we're vulnerable already, we're coming out of a place we've been enslaved for so many years. And there's a lot of cult leaders who look for people like this, who
Let,
look for people who are vulnerable.
let me ask you something. I got a question on one of my lives earlier, and they were saying, do they like obligan, like they obligate you to do certain things? Please tell me they don't, because they don't. And I was like, no, they don't. But they coerce, of course. Is that how I said it? Is that how I said it?
Force us. They do force
Tell me
us. We
the
don't
difference. Tell me the
force.
difference between one and the other. Do they literally like make you do stuff like the
Let
life
me
makes you make, because when we say like they will prohibit this and will prohibit that, and they're like, no, they didn't. You could do whatever, and then that's what they come up with, libre albedrío at the end of this. This my husband was like, I never heard of that word before, libre albedrío. That's a new thing that excuses everything that they were like told us not to do. But how do you explain that? I mean, do they really like make you do things, or do they actually like make it look like they don't do it, but they talk to you through your faith? Like, if you do this, you're gonna have a blessing. If you do, what's the difference?
So I think the first word that we all first need to know, that in LDM, girl, we did not know the definition of it. That wasn't in our vocabulary. Is the word of consent. And if that it's and consent is freely given, knowledgeable and informed agreement. You're at the age of consent, which means you're 18 years and older, and you have the capability to give consent for something because you've been informed about it. Nobody's forcing you, nobody's intimidating you, nobody's lying to you. So you're giving your full consent for that. Now, when that consent is vitiated, when there's it's been manipulated somehow, then that's where the crime is. So we didn't give our consent. We were coerced to raise our hands. We were coerced to say amen, because they didn't say, do you want to? They did it in front of everybody. And if you didn't, at least in my house, and I know of many, it's like, no, you don't come to this house and pretend like when you just said you don't want to be in church, you don't have a mom, a dad, you forget you have a house. And there are other parents, other people that have said like, well, no, not my parents, or no, I didn't. But it's very few, very few. And it's usually like you who had a mom who wasn't born in church, or who wasn't from church. And she or he, the dad, is like, that sounds like a cult, you know. But not many of us, we didn't have that, especially when you're born and raised into it with like multi-generational.
Mhm, mhm.
um at 15 years old, you're coerced to say it, to do it, to pay it.
You
And
know what? Even when you're older than that, because I remember the first time when Nason took his
right,
puesto, and everybody was like, "Somos en Nason Joaquin," and I didn't do it, and I got those looks like, "You don't believe?
yeah,
Like you have to do." I never did, but I'm still never did. But those looks like, and other people just because they don't want to be looked at like that, they did it. Or you get
yeah,
baptized sometimes because and you're 14 when you are told to get baptized, and like you said, you're not of age to get consent. Oh my god, we're getting out of the
no,
we're getting out of the the how to call it, the program how to say it, theme.
yeah,
But yeah, I mean, consent is, I understand what you're saying. So
yeah,
it's, you don't get obligated, you're not obligated to do anything, but you are coerced to do stuff.
right. And so obligated is that when you're being coerced, you're being obligated, you're being forced. So in human trafficking, when there's fraud, force, fear, so those are the three F's, right? Fraud, force, and fear. So if you're being, and let's say in LDM's case with its victims, right? When let's say a special offering, right? Every month with there's for the ranch. Let's just say I'm just at the top of my head out of all the like special offerings we've had to give in our lives in LDM. But hey, $50 a week every Thursday, right? It's well, you're older than 14, you're 14 and older, you got to come up with that money. I don't
Mhm.
know what to do, but at least in the churches here or that I was in, not only me but to others, right? And especially those who had like let's say in Berea here, I had to see how we were going to move people around there so that we can come up with the money to sell chocolates or however. So because Brother Nason had told me to have this position to make sure that we paid the rent for the radio station at the time so that it can give us the opportunity to speak to the city,
To the world.
to the world, right? So it's like I'm a kid, I'm a teenager, like I'm still in high school. I didn't want to do that. I had to do that. I had to do it because Brother Nathan told me to do it, and the servant of God gave me this position, and with my mom, and I'm going to get in trouble, like I but not because I wanted all of this. It was a lot of responsibility for a kid. And then on top of it, like all of the creepy things that Nason was doing to me, and as well as my aunt and her husband, like it was a lot happening in my life as a kid that I'm like vulnerable. I don't want to lose my mom. Like I don't want to lose my family. Well, especially my mom.
You don't want to disobey.
I don't
Because
want, yeah, I don't want to disobey. Like I want to be a good kid for her. I need to bring good. And then Nason always looked at my grades, like they had to stay up. So it's like I had a lot of pressure of doing it, not because they put a gun to my head, but because since I was a little baby, like a little girl, I was raised to know and believe that I had to do what the apostle needed from me. And so that all of their like the grooming, the undue influence that happens in people and what leads to that breaking of like that snapping of like, okay, you've been brainwashed, right? Like unfortunately me and like so many of us, right, we've been born into there, so we didn't even get a chance. Like that we didn't stand a chance because we were born there, we didn't have an option.
Mhm.
So when they force you to do something, it can be because they lied to you and they manipulated you into saying yes when you said yes, yeah, but because you told me that if I didn't do it, I didn't love you, and we could potentially maybe get a divorce, or I wouldn't get the job, or I'm gonna go to hell, like different things. Like those are all manipulation tactics and coercion tactics, but it's all the same. It's all fear, and so that's all coercion.
And if it's not the apostle, is the ministers. If not the ministers, there's the encargados or the grupo.
Right,
Pues this encargado de grupo de el aseo.
right.
My mom that she needed to stay to do the aseo in the church, and mom is like, no, I don't feel good. I feel sick. I'm not going to stay and do it. Blah, blah, blah. And when because she converted, I think
Like,
I forgot to mention this part of the story. She converted after many years. So she was there like for about 5 years. And then one day that she wouldn't stay to make the sale because she was in the list, and she said, "No, I'm not gonna do it." She says, "I feel sick," blah blah. And then this encargado del aseo le dijo, "Well, what are you coming to church for? If you're not gonna listen and you're not gonna obey whatever you've been told, I'm pretty sure you don't do any of the other things." La 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 la. So might as well not come. And mom said, "Fine." And that's the last time she went to church. And then
wow.
2 years later, when she passed away, everybody wanted to be there. The church and the pastor and everybody wanted to be there at her funeral. And you know what they do? They just talk about, the church now that, and my stepdad and my sister were like, no, you didn't come to visit her. You actually run her away from church. You didn't come to
Wow.
visit her. Now you want to be here. But that's another story I will tell later. But yeah, they coerce you.
Yeah.
They different levels of authority, but everybody, encargado of something, they will make you do something. So yeah,
It's
that's
it's
modus
also
operandi of the church.
it's the abuse of power, girl. It's the abuse of power, and that just trickles down to all of it. But and then they had the power to move the brothers and say, hey, let's go visit the sister. She's probably been going through a hard time. She did mention she was sick. Let's go visit her. Aren't you a church? Isn't that supposedly what the money that you're intaking, right? Isn't that supposedly what churches do? You visit the, you visit the sick, and you help the poor and the needy. Like, that's what churches are supposed to be, right? A safe haven for people who are going through pain and feel lost and with no hope. That's what supposedly churches are supposed to be there for. And they decided to completely abandon your mom just because the pastor didn't like that she said something or did something or went somewhere. And they have all the power to get everybody else there and say, no, don't talk to her. No, we don't. So yeah, I completely know what you mean. And it's horrible, the abusive power that they can have over one person's life in a cult, like a criminal cult anyway.
Yeah.
Girl.
Well,
Terrible.
I guess we need to stop here because you have your family to go to.
Oh, girl, it was so good
You
talking
get
to
a long 3 days, 4 days,
you.
and tomorrow is Saturday. I know you're gonna be with your family and Sunday as well.
I'm
I
like
got
2 hours, so an hour a day que te debía.
you know, right? We've been
Yeah.
trying to get together since like what, Thursday? No, like Wednesday or Tuesday.
Yeah.
But okay, finally we did. So take care. Say hi to Sharon for me and to your daughter. And thank you for being here. Thank you for giving me this time. And know that I love you a lot.
Oh, me too. And thank you for having me. And say hi to the family and tell them we love them. And thank you again. Good night.
Good night. Take
Bye,
care.
everybody. Good night.
Bye, everybody. Oh, say hi to all the audience. I haven't read any comments, but we'll just everybody. Some of them came in and say hi. Sochil and all that. Just say hi to them real quick, and we get to go.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you, everybody. Good night.
Good night.
Más de 30 years side by side, Rogelio y Alma, no questions, no lies. Cameras rolling, lights on bright, working for a vision they call divine. Nos dijeron this is God's will, no questions allowed, just be still. But time don't lie, truth always shows, and cracks appear behind the show. One day we walked away in silence, con el corazón lleno de scars. 6 years out, healing slowly, but the truth followed us wherever we are. We're coming back, but not the same. Con el mismo equipo, different aim. Same hands, same skills, new direction. Now we speak facts, truth, core, protection. We're coming back, no fear, no chains. Con documentos, not just faith. What they hid is coming to light. This ain't revenge, this is what's right. Using the gear we used back then, las mismas cámaras, but now we explain. Mixers, mics, everything they gave, now exposing lies they try to say. This ain't gossip, this ain't hate, it's court files, dates, federal states. No es lo que dicen from the stage, it's what's written page by page. Yeah, they called us rebels, dijeron traición, but lies don't survive real information. If truth was wrong, tell me why they fight so hard just to keep it quiet. We're coming back, but not the same. Con el mismo equipo, different aim. Same hands, same skills, new direction. Now we speak facts, truth, core, protection. We're coming back sin miedo, yeah. La mentira shakes when truth arrives. What they buried once they buried tonight. This ain't hate, this is life. We didn't come back for views, no volvimos por fama. We came back because someone has to say it. Y ya no tenemos nada que perder. We're coming back, standing tall. La verdad no needs permission to call. If it was fake, it's gone.